There are a few tracks in North America that can claim to be older than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tonight, the Elite Racing League's Mega Player 86 IndyCar Series takes on one of those tracks, the legendary Milwaukee Mile at the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Gillespie along with Rishav Kosla, bringing you all the action from the Elite Racing League tonight at the famous Milwaukee Mile. We're in the middle of qualifying right now. Adriano Pinero is your provisional pole sitter right now, followed by Henry Bennett, who won last week. Alexander Van der Sant, Caleb Benzie, and Victor Del Porto round out your top five in qualifying so far. Rish, this is one of the biggest challenges on the entire circuit this year, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely got to be. I mean, we've hit on a couple of different types of ovals here in the IndyCar Series so far, but all of them have been using that low downforce super speedway package where you really don't have a ton of wing on the car. These guys can draft up really well to each other and all that, but this is the first really short oval that we call it here. It's a mile-long racetrack. It's a flat track as well, so you're really scrambling on these restarts especially to try and get grip, try and get track position. I've spoken with some of the drivers. They said it's going to be a very difficult time, 250 laps. You're going to have to protect your stuff all the way to the end. We've seen the past couple of races just how much of a race of attrition it can be. We could see a very similar thing here tonight.
And with that flat corner each way around, it's more like a road course almost with four road course type flat corners than it is an oval with banking. I mean, even Indianapolis at 9 degrees is banked more than the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, absolutely. You really don't feel it at all. And so, again, there's just going to be a lot of new challenges for these drivers that they're not necessarily used to. So a lot of firsts here tonight. I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a very interesting race for sure. Though, of course, we do still have the standard offenders that we normally see leading qualifying here. Adriano Pinero, Henry Bennett, Alexander Van der Sant, Tyler Fode even up here, and Brian Blauman actually with a great run there in qualifying up inside the top five. So a couple of surprises there. I think fourth and fifth, Tyler Fode and Brian Blauman haven't quite put together qualifying yet this season, so that's nice to see from them. But Pinero, Bennett, Van der Sant, that's the guys you expect to see up front at any given racetrack, and Milwaukee seems to be no exception.
This is a track that has made legends in the past. Drivers like Foyt, Andretti, the Unsers, the Bettenhausens, the drivers that you've grown up with around IndyCar racing have all made their names here at the Milwaukee Mile. It's a shame IndyCar doesn't race here anymore, and perhaps they will at one point in the future. But tonight, the Elite Racing League is racing here in the Signing Day Sports 250. We'll have 250 laps around this 1 mile oval. And hopefully this will not be an attrition race. As we've seen the last three races so far, the first three races of the season have been demolition derbies at times. It's come down to whoever has the last surviving car that wins.
Yeah, it really has seemed that way. I mean, we've had a lot of competitive cars for sure, but there's just been incidents throughout the field that guys have been, I think we've seen just some impatience. I think Long Beach, you could potentially give the exception that it was a brand new track, but of course that's still no excuse for a lot of these drivers. Michigan, I think, was surprising for me because I was expecting that to be some close racing, but not necessarily a lot of contact there. This is one of those tracks that I would have circled at the beginning of the season to say that maybe this one could be a few more cautions. And with the rate we've been going this season, that obviously doesn't bode super well.
After this race, we'll start getting serious about the points standings because drivers can drop their worst race here in the Elite Racing League. And for many of them, Michigan, Long Beach, or Homestead was probably that worst race of the season as the field pulls away for the first pace lap. Adriano Pinero, your pole sitter. Henry Bennett, last week's winner at Michigan, is on the outside. Alexander Van der Sant and Tyler Fode make up the third row. Brian Blauman and Caleb Benzie make up the fourth row.
Yep, Victor Del Porto, Andrew Marquez. We've seen those guys, again, all the way up front a lot during these races. Chad Frankenfield, you see there. Look for him to be aggressive moving forward early on in this race. Jared Rexing as well, impressive inside the top 15 there. Lots of movers. There's going to be lots of comers and goers throughout this race as well, so be ready for it. There's going to be a lot of action, I think, on this opening lap.
We want to thank our sponsors, Richmar Florists and C2 Freight, along with Signing Day Sports, the title sponsor for tonight's race at Milwaukee. We'll be taking a couple of weeks off. Next time around will be April 2nd at Mid-Ohio. As the pace car pulls off and the green flag is out, we are racing at Milwaukee. Pinheiro leads them into turn 1, followed by Bennett and Van der Sant.
A little bit there, especially at the front off the first corner. You want to get into just get into a groove right away, and that's exactly what these guys are trying to do, though we still have them too wide or so, a little bit further back. And what was I saying there? Chad Frankenfield moving forward one position already and looking at the back of Thomas Geisler. You can potentially make that second lane work, but like you said, it is a flat track. You are ultimately taking a longer way around the racetrack, so it's tricky to get that exactly right, but if you can get to the side of somebody, you can still have some of that arrow effect and really pull yourself around those outside corners, as you see some drivers doing further back here.
And we are fortunate in that the field has gotten through the first 2 laps clean so far.
Yeah, extremely fortunate right now. Seems to be everything's okay. Again, everybody just single filing out right now, up until we'd expect to start seeing tire wear maybe play into effect here, fuel conservation, that kind of stuff. But that obviously guys aren't going to be thinking about right away here. They want to go race for a little bit, and then you start thinking strategy here, as you've got Caleb Benchy and Victor Del Porto going side by side through 1 and 2.
What do the guys say about pit windows?
I actually haven't heard about pit windows. I'd imagine you can make it pretty long on a set of or especially a tank of fuel here, because you're just not at full throttle a ton. You're not really revving out the car out like you would be at a larger racetrack. So I am curious to see exactly what that window is. I would estimate in my head I'm gonna say 70 laps maybe on fuel. That could be completely wrong. We'll see. But yeah, I think fuel is obviously going to be the thing that's going to stop these guys. If we do have cautions, you're definitely going to want to come in and get tires because of how much you're scrubbing those tires. But really, if you can stay out on track, you want to protect that track position.
Chad Frankenfield making a move on Victor Del Porto, and then tucking him behind him as they head down the backstretch into 3. Adriano Pinheiro still your leader. Henry Bennett, Van der Sant round out the top 3. Fody, Blauman, Marquez, the second 3. Benchy, Del Porto, and Chad Frankenfield round out the top 10, along with Thomas Geisler in 10th position right now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see a little bit on the timing and scoring here. We've got the interval screen up, and you can see just those gaps between the drivers. There really is a pretty significant gap between most drivers on track. This isn't something you'd normally expect to see, especially when we're out at a track like Michigan, where drivers are separated by hundredths of a second across the line every lap and swapping positions 2-3 times a lap like we saw there. It's a different style of race. It's a lot more of a conservation type of race where you really have to just work your stuff. The car will come to you. You have to make sure that you're good in the long runs, and we'll start seeing that disparity grow throughout this run. Right now, Adriano Pinheiro up front early. We don't know, though, if he's potentially burning his stuff up, and if the likes of Henry Bennett, Alexander Van der Sant, Tyler Fody might come back at him.
We are watching an example of the Penske philosophy. I think the quote has been attributed to Roger Penske. It's also been attributed to Rick Mears, in that to finish first you must finish. And the guys have forgotten that the first 3 races in this series so far. Yellow flag is out, and we'll figure out what happened here.
Yeah.
We're on lap 18.
Yeah, it's Carlos de Aguiar there in that number 99 car. We'll head over to the iRace Online replay. So they did a good job making it 10 laps there, and I'd love to see what happened here. I only see him on pit road, though, so it could just be a one-car incident here, or potentially met up with another driver on the racetrack. We'll take a look and see here what happened.
And I apologize, my screen was a bit garbled, and 18 looked a lot like 10. So let's see what happens with this car. Oh, yeah, contact and right into the wall.
Yeah, tried to make that outside lane work, and you saw just how much more speed he could carry in, but you get to a point there where you have to come down on the racetrack, and for him, there was just a car there. And so that's a judgment thing as well when it comes to making moves like that. What I want to see is I think the pace car has just picked everybody up now. Pit road should be open, so this is going to be another kind of interesting answer for me is if guys come down and take tires, first of all, I don't actually know what limits they have on tire sets. They could be very limited, and that could prevent them from coming down pit road right now. But if they do come down and grab tires, that just tells you just how important tire wear is going to be around this racetrack. If they don't, they're definitely favoring more of a track position type race where even if you have worse tires, you're hoping that because you've got some of the aero wash, because it's generally a 1.5 groove racetrack, nobody can get by you. So we'll take a look here and see what Adriano Pinheiro does as well as what the rest of the field does, as I believe pit road should be open this time by.
Now, that move might have worked later in the race once the second groove on the outside had rubbered in a little bit, but not this early in the race.
Yeah, not this early. And you saw a couple of guys maybe diving a little bit low, maybe faking to go down pit road. But, yeah, everybody's going to stay out so far as I can tell. We'll go further back in the pack right now, see if anybody decides to come down. Again, that's something potentially if you're running at the back of the pack, it might be worth going a little bit off strategy. 10 laps can be a significant difference at these racetracks where you are this aero dependent, dependent on just the grip, the maximum grip that you can get out of the car. So yeah, we'll see. Right now, it doesn't look like anybody's really taking it down pit road. Potentially, nope. We do have Jay Shallington, one of our top finishers from last week at Michigan, as well as Joe McAtery, both making the call to come down pit road. So those guys are the ones taking that quick strategy call, as well as I believe Gil Ribeiro came down pit road as well.
Carlos D'Aguilar, who was involved in that accident, is being shown as 3 laps down right now. When you have a 1 mile track, it doesn't take long to get lapped, especially after an incident like this.
Yeah, exactly. I think he is showing is still running on our timing and scoring. I'm curious to see how that, I mean, if that car can even get back up and running, because that did look like some pretty hefty damage on it from our view. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, he could be out of this race, and that car will show on pit road, but it may be race over. You'll notice the green flag is out. However, just like we did at Michigan last week, we do have one more manual pace lap here. Get the cars just right in order before we get back to green flag racing. Single file restarts as they're going to come here. Single file and probably taking that higher line off of turn 4.
And let's watch as Adriano Pinheiro brings them down to the green flag. Coming out of 4. Pinheiro pulls away. The green flag is out now, and we do have racing again at Milwaukee on lap 14 of 259 in the signing day sports.com 250. Love that shot.
Oh, absolutely love it. You can see just how quick these guys are going, even on these restarts when you're still getting up to speed here. But again, nice and clean restart by a lot of these guys. I think the single file nature of the IndyCar restarts really gives a chance for drivers to just spread out, do their own thing, as long as nobody checks up and causes a huge train of cars to check up behind them and cause incidents. You should be good to go, and everyone's just given a chance to get a breather for the first couple laps, figure out what they've got underneath them, and then start going for moves here, rather than a lot of the times we see in the NASCAR races that we do, you've got the double file restarts. You don't necessarily know what you have. Your tires are cold or old, and the car could be changing in terms of handling if you had damage. You go in there 2x2, and you're almost guaranteed to have issues. We raced at Milwaukee in the Cup Series a few weeks back, and we had a lot of issues. So far, a positive start to this Milwaukee race in the IndyCar Series.
The key word is patience tonight. And if you've got it, you have a chance of sticking around until the finish.
Yeah, you really need to. And I know quite a few drivers who have looked strong but haven't gotten the finishes because they've been taken out or taken themselves out in races already. And the two that I definitely look to are Tyler Fode and Brian Blauman. Both of them have had very fast cars, especially in race pace. But they've always been caught up in some incident, whether it's, again, self-inflicted. We've seen that with Tyler Fode. He's struggled a little bit with the rear end on these cars, both at Homestead Miami Speedway as well, or at Long Beach, as well as at Michigan. Brian Blauman's been caught up in a number of incidents coming from the back, though, of course. So this time I'm curious to see. They're starting further up the order. What can they do? They should, in theory, be clearer of a lot of the chaos that ensues mid-pack.
To be fair, though, Tyler had been out of the IndyCar Series for a while and running just in the stock cars and trucks, and is back in IndyCar, so it's a bit of an adjustment to
Oh,
get
for
back
sure.
to open wheel racing again. Pinheiro has led all 19 laps so far. We're now on lap 20.
Yeah, we got a great little battle going on here between Victor Del Porto, defending from Chad Frankenfield, but also looking for a move here on Caleb Benchy. He's going to the inside, but you can see just 2 by 2 how slow he had to go right on the bottom there. You really want to use that whole track, and looks like Del Porto might potentially lose a spot here. He's actually holding on all right with Caleb Benchy as well, but Chad Frankenfield trying that outside move, trying to see if he can stick his nose there and prevent Del Porto from using the full arc of the corner here, and that really checks you up, and he's doing just that. Chad Frankenfield looks like he's going for an outside move here within a lap or two.
Let's watch, and he's coming down. He'll pull it off at the line, pulls ahead of Del Porto, moves into 8th position.
Yep, so another position gain there for that 15 car. Qualifying that probably wasn't as good as it's been at most other tracks that we've been to this season, so he has a little bit of work to get to where he has been in races. But right now the race pace on that 15 car looks pretty solid. He is running that top line and making it work. We just saw him make that move on Victor Del Porto and didn't really seem to have any troubles there. So maybe starting to get some rubber in that second, 1.5 to second groove there to try and get the chance to make some moves on the top side.
Take a look at the in-car on one of these guys, maybe Chad or Caleb.
Absolutely. Let's take a look. Here we go. On board with Chad Frankenfield and this number 15 car down into turn 1, and you see dropping all the way down from 180 miles an hour to about 130. So 50 miles an hour of change in velocity there in a pretty short period, and then back up to 179 miles an hour I think he got there, and then you're doing that constantly. Obviously, these guys aren't in full motion sims. They'd be exhausted if they were, but you're still dealing with a lot of force feedback through your steering wheels here. They're definitely having a bit of a workout here as they're just trying to get this car around, and of course that brake foot is also getting its due in today.
This is a case where it's not just the tires that will wear out, but the brakes can wear out too.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I don't believe iRacing has brake wear built in. Thankfully for IndyCars, obviously they've got these monstrous carbon ceramic brakes, so you don't really hear about brake failure a ton in IndyCar because they're just able to handle so much heat and they're able to run for such a long time without really any difficulties of wear. You do definitely hear about it though on stock cars a lot they've got cast iron brake rotors. Those things can warp, those can heat up extremely quickly, and you can go through them so fast at a track like this. So thankfully, or depending on how you view it, iRacing I don't think has brake wear as a factor in these races. Right now we've seen they've added a denser smoke, which has already caused a lot of issues, the more realistic type of smoke, which is great for the guys who love the simulation aspect. But we've seen situations where you're driving blind into an incident, and we've seen guys hit other drivers in completely avoidable accidents because they were completely...
And we've also seen cars flying apart more often when they hit the wall as opposed to previous years as well because of the new damage model.
Absolutely, yeah. So the cars are quite a bit more explosive. It's easier to get caught up in somebody else's incident because of all the smoke that's on track. iRacing is doing a pretty solid job here of making it so that mistakes are punished. You're really having to pay for mistakes on the racetrack nowadays. Before, I mean, you could clobber these walls into the car. You could clobber these cars into the walls, and they'd actually be reasonably okay. They might drive a little bit funny, but you could still keep them pointed in the right direction. Right now, it looks like a reasonable hit to the wall, and you've got that front right tire coming flying off.
And we are still watching to see if Carlos D'Aguilar comes out of the pits at all.
Yeah, let's say no. It looks like he's officially called it a night.
He's done for the night.
Yeah, so Carlos D'Aguilar, the first DNF of the night, 32nd position for him. So unfortunate there. I mean, that's the one positive that's come out of the races where we've had not that many finishers is even if you didn't finish, you could still get a top 10. Not the situation here tonight for Carlos D'Aguilar.
And Shallington and McAdory, and now Gil Ribeiro, have all dropped down one lap. Shallington and McAdory took the chance to pit during that yellow flag at lap 10, and that put them behind a lap. You can easily fall behind a lap behind, even on a yellow flag pit stop when it's just a 1 mile track.
Yeah, you really can, and I think part of that is, again, the single foul restarts, is you're so spread out that probably by the time that those guys were hitting the start-finish line, our leader, Adriano Pinheiro, was probably halfway down the back straightaway and ready to close in on them. And with the pace that Pinheiro's been going at today, it's not too hard to believe that even on fresh tires, he was able to pass those guys at the back.
Props to the guys for running clean so far. Only one caution flag after 33 laps, as we're about to complete lap 33. Pinheiro and Bennett still your top two. Van der Zandt in third. Tyler Fode, Brian Blauman fourth and fifth, respectively. No real changes in that top five so far, and just a couple of passes on track. We're in 34 laps in, or in the 34th lap, which would be about maybe halfway to the first expected pit stops for most of the field tonight.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. Again, we'll kind of see. We've got a nice little battle going on here for the second position between last week's winner Henry Bennett and Alexander Van der Zandt in the race first car there. But yeah, it's going to be tire wear, fuel consumption. They really have a lot of adjustability in these cars. You can alter your fuel map as well. So we could see guys making adjustments and potentially saving quite a bit more fuel than others and saving their tires in very different ways. We're also seeing now, we kind of touched on it briefly, but traffic is going to play a huge factor into this because, like we said, there aren't a ton of places to pass, and guys don't want to go a lap down. So we don't have lucky dogs or any of that kind of stuff in IndyCar that you do on the NASCAR side of things. So, you don't want to go down a lap. You're trying to push as hard as you can, and this is about the point where you're going to start seeing some mistakes happen and where we could potentially see our next caution.
And it's worth noting that Jari Brubaker in the 88, along with Benjamin Combs and A.J. Hobson, have all taken went ahead and ducked into the pits briefly about 10 laps or so ago. It was hard to notice at the time following the leaders, but it looks like those guys might be trying to go off strategy a little bit.
Yeah, that is an interesting strategy called. It might actually be they were the ones who pitted on that previous pit or that previous caution there.
No, that was Shallington and McAdory, because we've only had the one caution so far. Those guys all pitted about 10 laps earlier. Back on lap about 10 or so. Oh, you're right. Okay, I stand corrected on that. I stand corrected. Those guys did pit earlier, but those guys have about 10 more laps, or 10 fewer laps on their tires than the leaders do.
Yeah, and Yari's the one who's making the most out of it right now. We haven't seen a ton from Benjamin Combs, A.J. Hobson, Joe Ribeiro, Jay Shallington, Joe McAdory. Those guys have been struggling a little bit, but Jari Brubaker is the only one who's not a lap down. He's moved forward a couple of positions. We know how strong that 88 car was at Michigan. You saw that as we almost had a dangerous situation there between the 21 car and the 1 car in the 97 here. But yeah, that was almost very close. As Tyler Fode's going to sneak in and take third position away from him. Yeah, I want to keep an eye on that 88 car. I want to see how he's going to progress over the course of this race. He is on that slightly off strategy. Fuel-wise, that can help him later down the road. Tires-wise, we'll see kind of how that plays out as well.
And now that Fode is up to third, it'll be interesting to see where he goes, because he does not like running in the back, and he may make a move here on Henry Bennett in the next lap or two.
Yeah, Tyler Fode looks really strong right now. He's looking aggressive, looking to move forward right now, and this could be the point in the run. I mean, again, I'm gonna talk about it because I talk about Tyler Fode a lot on the NASCAR side of things, and that's where I know him best. Is he's always known for his ability to save his stuff, save his tires throughout a run. That could be what we're seeing here. Is that Henry Bennett, Alexander Van der Zandt were kind of fighting each other a little bit earlier on there, and
here goes Fode. Here goes Fode's going to drop back a spot, almost drop back a spot.
Yeah, Alexander Van der Zandt looking to the outside of Tyler Fode. He's gonna almost get there. He's still on the outside. We'll keep following this, but Tyler Fode might have a tire advantage right now over these two guys that he's racing, though they're certainly not giving up without a fight, as Alexander Van der Zandt trying once again to go around the outside, but Fode clears him. And Van der Sant might also lose a position now to
We've
Brian
got a wreck.
Blauman.
We've got a wreck.
And they're all
3
of
cars
them
involved.
around.
That was Fody. That was Frankenfield. Or no, it was Fody,
Blauman.
Van der Sant.
Fody, Blauman, and Van der Sant were the 3 cars involved in that.
And it looks like they just got a little too impatient heading into turn 1.
Yeah. Let's take a look and see exactly
what happened. It looked like Fody
here.
got into the back.
It looked like Fody might have actually spun the... Or no,
oh, no,
Van der
Fody
Sant.
was the victim here. Van der Sant got into Fody's rear end.
And Blauman was kind of just a victim of all of that, I think. I want to head back here and watch on board from that 29 car and see what that looked like. Because that was a close hit there. It does still show Brian Blauman is running in 3rd position, so I'm actually curious if he didn't actually get as bad as it looked here. But let's take a look and see this incident. I mean, yeah, you've got no room, and ooh, there was damage definitely to that car.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Maybe
that's not where a wheel normally goes.
Yeah, so you see it actually went back. That's a little bit of an interesting part of the iRacing damage model there. You can see he does have toe damage as he's driving straight. That steering wheel is clocked very severely to the right.
Oh yeah.
But that could potentially be something that's fixable. Yeah, that could be something that he's not out of the race, but that car could still be struggling pretty severely. And you see now everybody on pit road, Blauman included. We'll see how long that 29 car sits on pit road. There is some pretty bad damage to that front nose there.
And we're going to be watching as Jari Brubaker takes over
Yep, Yari's
second place.
Yari's going to take over the lead there over Adriano Pinheiro. He should do, at least. I believe, actually, Pinheiro might have come off pit road in front of Brubaker.
It looks like Pinheiro did come off pit road in front.
So that's actually extremely impressive there, that Pinheiro was able to go up and down pit road before Brubaker could come back around, because he was on the same lap as Pinheiro. So extremely impressive job by the pit crew for Adriano Pinheiro there. 8 seconds stationary on pit road, 25 total seconds down, and yeah, he maintains that lead. And for Jari, that's kind of unfortunate, because he's now sitting out there on 35 lap old tires while everybody else around him is going to be on fresh tires.
And more of these drivers are starting to come in now. Including Jari Brubaker is now pitting, along with some of the drivers who had pitted on lap 10 or so. Shallington is in the pits. McAdory, rather, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jari.
Brian Blauman is in the pits now to get some of that toe damage fixed.
Yeah, Blauman
Brubaker is back in.
Yep. Brubaker's in, Blauman's down. He's now Brubaker's now off pit road. I think the only car still sitting there is Blauman, and that could be a situation where he's just trying to get as much damage fixed without going a lap down here. But I don't know how severe it is. If he's coming down for a second time, that car could be very, very hurt, and he'll be hoping that that other guys start taking themselves out in front of him as he's kind of just able to pick up the pieces, if possible.
And Van der Sant is also in the pits still.
Yep, Tyler Fody looks like Tyler Fody's actually back out on track, but Van der Sant is the one who looks like he's gotten the worst out of that incident. He looks like that 97 car is probably out of this race.
Well, he was the one that instigated it, getting into Fody's back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly
even
looked
if he
way.
gets back out, he would be facing an EOL penalty from race control.
Yeah, I mean that's what it looks like from where we're at. I don't know. I don't have access to the race control right now, and I don't know exactly what the call is on that. I think a lot of the times, especially if the driver who instigated the incident is the one who ends up with the most severe damage, which in this case it looks like, they're kind of excused of that EOL because you go down so many laps and they effectively end up with worse than an EOL because of it. But yeah, I don't know, because it could also be in that situation, from what we saw, it looked very much like it was Van der Sant who was at fault there. Could have been Tyler Fody checking up, though, as well, going into the corner and maybe going slower. But there's so many factors there. Race control has a much better view of all that, I'll say.
The pace car is off. We will have one more lap under unofficial caution with Pinheiro, your leader, followed by Henry Bennett, Caleb Benchy, Chad Frankenfield, and Victor Del Porto in the Signing Day Sports 250 from the virtual Milwaukee Mile tonight. You're watching the Mega Player 86 IndyCar Series on the Elite Racing Channel. Brought to you by Richmar Florists and C2 Freight. I'm Mark Gillespie along with Rishab Khosla. We will start lap number 50 when they come back around to restart the race as Adriano Pinheiro is your leader. Let's watch as he heads back down the main stretch now and should start pulling away a little bit as he guns it heading down the stretch.
Yeah, the field is really not spread out, and as the caution comes back out here, looks like they were not. Race control was probably not happy with how spread out the field was, and they called out that caution once again to have the guys lap around a few more times. So an interesting situation right there.
About time. That was not a clean start, and
No.
Props to race control for calling them on it.
Yeah, it was way too spread out. Unfortunately, though, we'll probably have a few more laps here pacing then, because we're gonna have to go through a full pace car cycle, I believe, or a full yellow cycle here. So yeah, that's an interesting call there. But obviously you have to wave it off when you've got a grid like that. So we'll lose a couple of laps here, but fingers crossed everybody kind of gets sorted out here, and we get back to a nice solid green flag run after this.
And we'll watch as this may have some impact later in the race if they can get a couple more laps under yellow when it comes to fuel mileage.
It absolutely can. Again, until we fully know exactly what that fuel window looks like for a lot of these drivers, it's tough to say for sure. But you know, any gallon of fuel or any half gallon or quarter, any bit of fuel that you can save really is important in these races, because it just gives you flexibility on your fuel strategy. When you can pit, if it does go green to the end, you're allowed to decide, you know, I have a much larger window that's available to me, versus, you know, you could have a significantly smaller window. So it changes things up for you. It gives me more chances, more opportunities to change something up and you know, make a run for the front, make a run for the win.
We are making very good time tonight. We're on lap 51 of 250 here at the Milwaukee Mile in the signingdaysports.com 250. We'll have at least one more official lap under yellow with the pace car staying out.
Yeah, with us lapping under yellow here, no pit stops to come from. We'll be right back with you guys with a quick break and a word from our premier sponsors here at the Elite Racing Leagues.
My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
Richmar Florist makes every day a special day, from weddings and large events to that little something for any occasion. Richmar Florist has the perfect floral expression, and they're open online 24/7 at richmarflorist.com. Everywhere, every day. Richmar's 2 retail locations offer a fantastic selection of floral creations, gifts, and home decor. Book your free consultation in our showroom for your special event needs, and visit us online at richmarflorist.com today.
Back with live pictures here, and you're actually viewing the damaged car of Tom Holland. Did receive some damage there during the caution, which potentially could have been the reason why it was brought back out. However, unfortunately, due to netcode issues, we're unable to bring you footage of that because it looked like that car just disappeared off the racetrack and waltzed into pit road with the damage. So that could probably be the explanation there as to why this caution, that last caution, was called off, and we got another one here. So we're going to try
We'll
once
try it
more.
again as the pace car is off the track. We'll take one more lap under caution and come back around as we start lap number 54 under caution.
Tom Holland will join.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Tom Holland now joins Alexander Van de Sande and Carlos de Aguiar as the 3 cars out of this race here on lap 54. 29 still remaining, but quite a few of those 29 have some damage from other incidents over the course of this race so far. So we'll keep an eye on them and keep an eye on how guys run around each other, especially when we get to lap traffic.
The attrition has been a lot less than previous races, though. If you remember Long Beach a few weeks ago, we only had 3 cars running at the end. And so far, we are doing fairly well tonight. As they come around, Adriano Pinheiro, who won at Long Beach several weeks ago, is now heading down into turn 1. We are back under green, followed by Henry Bennett, Caleb Benchy, Chad Frankenfield, Victor Del Porto, Eric Troiano, Thomas Geisler, Jared Rexing, Chris Wood, and Michael Justin Fortney, your top 10.
There you go. Cars all streaming out back for the first time in what feels like a little while here. Adriano Pinheiro, though, leads them off, does what he's done all day so far, and that's been leading pretty much every lap, barring maybe 1 or 2 there under caution when Jari Brubaker might have taken over for a few seconds. But, man, it's going to take a lot for someone to beat this 12 car, as even our last week's race winner, Henry Bennett, can't seem to get close enough to really make any kind of move on him.
Pinheiro is a rookie in the series from Brazil, one of the drivers from outside the U.S. competing in the Elite Racing League. We should also let you know that on Thursday nights, the next couple of nights, the professional drivers of the IndyCar Series in the real world are doing iRacing events. They did one at Montreal last night, and we'll have 2 more over the next couple of Thursday nights if you're into IndyCar action. Getting ready for the start of the season next month at St. Pete, followed by, after Barber Motorsports Park, I believe the weekend of April 25th.
Yeah, I mean, I remember from last year just how interesting, and I'm going to use interesting, those IndyCar races were on iRacing. It was kind of, it was fun, at least for myself as a sim racer, to watch as professional drivers came over to this world and really struggled with it for a variety of reasons. But it was kind of enjoyable because it did very much connect the 2 worlds that we have here. Both the sim world and the real world, and I do believe we have another caution out on the racetrack as drivers are slowing down, and there it is.
Oh,
we just saw the leader flash past it.
There's the cause of it right there. There is Pinheiro drove right by it. Let's can't quite tell who's involved.
Yeah, it looks like Jari Brubaker and Gil Ribeiro are the 2 cars I'm seeing on my ticker saying that they're out of this race. They just towed back to pit road. We'll head back to the replay and show you guys what happened with them.
Let's watch as they head down.
Ooh. I from where we're sitting,
that'll end your day.
Yeah, from where I'm sitting, that looks like the 88 might have drove it in a little bit too hard there. We saw that incident before with the first caution of the night, in a very similar style where just a massive difference in entry speed to that corner there, and that led to that incident.
Yeah, that will definitely end your day.
Yeah,
so we are under caution once again.
Yep, lap 60 here. This is the 4th caution of the night so far. It's been pretty solid up until, these last couple here where we've had them go back to back. But again, I think a nice and not so nice thing is when guys take themselves out here, there's not a chance that they can really get back out onto the racetrack because the damage model is pretty severe on these cars. So in theory, as the field whittles down a little bit, it does get cleaner because the guys who are still out on track are the ones who haven't caused a wreck, of course. We've seen, though, that isn't always true as we've gone down to, I think it was 8 finishers last week at Michigan, 3 finishers at Long Beach. It doesn't always play to be true, but I hope at the short tracks it seems to be a little bit more so the case.
Just a reminder, we are off next Friday night. We will return with Mega Player 86 Indy Racing League, Elite Racing League action in the IndyCar Series at Mid-Ohio on April 2nd, followed by the 16th at Phoenix and the Indy Grand Prix on the 23rd. Indianapolis 500 qualifying comes up on May 30th, and on May 7th, we will have the virtual version of the Indianapolis 500 here on the Elite Racing Channel. And we have a couple of special guests who will be joining us for the broadcast that night.
Absolutely, we will. A quick update. You know what? I don't know. I don't want to give our viewers any kind of conflicting evidence, but I'm actually looking at a schedule that says we have next week with the race at Phoenix and the following week off. Whatever week is Easter is the week that we are not racing. I will tell you that.
Okay, because my schedule has us tonight, April 2nd and April 16th.
I have I have April 2nd and April 9th are the two at Mid-Ohio and Phoenix. So we'll see. We'll let you guys know when we
know we're off next weekend.
Exactly. You guys got a week off still. But we'll keep you updated in terms of or check especially the Twitter page and the website for the Elite Racing Leagues. That'll be the most up-to-date information.
Check your local listings. We will have all the details. Occasionally, we get crossed wires here on social media and exchanging the schedules back and forth. So it happens. But we know we have next week off, and we know we'll be at Mid-Ohio in 2 weeks. After
Absolutely.
that, it's all fluid.
And I personally can't wait until Mid-Ohio. I mean, we've seen some great races at Mid-Ohio in the Road to Indy Series. And now throwing the IndyCars out on that racetrack, I think it's going to be fantastic. It is going to be tricky to pass. That's always been a factor at Mid-Ohio, but it's such a high commitment type of racetrack in these cars because there is no room for error there. You go off track, you put like a quarter of your tire off the racetrack, and you're gone. So I'm really looking forward to that. From a cautions point of view, maybe not as much, but of course, a road course, we're inclined to see less cautions.
We'll have another one of those last car standing wins. Let's watch, see if the pace car heads off. We'll have one more lap under caution as the pace car does hit the pits. Adriano Pinheiro has led wire to wire so far, except for maybe one turn or so, but Henry Bennett is in second. Bennett won last time around at Michigan. Chad Frankenfield is in third, still looking for his first victory of the season. Pinheiro won at Long Beach. Caleb Benchy is still looking for his first win of the season as well.
Actually, it was Pinheiro victorious at Homestead, and Benchy actually was our victor at Long Beach.
Okay, I stand corrected.
So we do have 3 former race winners inside the top 4, though, which just shows that we really do have the cream rising to the top once again. Chad Frankenfield, like you said, the odd one out there, he's seeking that first win of the season, and this could certainly be the racetrack where he does it. That car's been strong up to 3rd position after starting in 10th, I believe it was.
Pinheiro pulls away from Bennett as the field crosses the line, heads down into turn 1 under green. We are on lap 65. About a half a second lead for Pinheiro over Bennett. Frankenfield just slightly behind in 3rd place.
Yeah, Frankenfield's going to need to defend from Benchy, Del Porto, who have both been extremely fast, but right now Del Porto already looking to see if he can find a way around Caleb Benchy. Right now, not
that high
quite
groove
able
is
to.
starting to rubber in. That second groove is starting to rubber in just a little bit.
It really is, but we've got another caution out on the racetrack.
Oh, brother. Here we go. Cautions breed cautions.
They certainly do. Let's. Wasn't able to see a slow-running car here on the racetrack, but I'll head over to the iRace Online replay and see who that might have been.
Oh, Tyler Fode's in the pits, it looks like. Or no, I'm sorry, he's not.
It might have actually been our friend Tyler Fode here who was the ultimate cause of that caution, and it was. We'll bring it back around here for you guys in just a second as I get those pictures up for you.
We want to thank our friends at iRace.online for sponsoring our replays. They provide some of the top simulator gear around. They can help you set up your rigs and work with all the major online racing systems to provide whatever you may need in order to get your system and your sim rigs up and running right. Once again, thank the folks for sponsoring our replays tonight.
Yeah, that right there. It's a self-spin doesn't harm anybody, but obviously, except for Tyler Fode, of course. But, yeah, I mean, we've seen that time and time again. It really seems to be Fode's weak spot with these cars is the rear end. Hasn't quite been able to figure that out. Of course, coming over from the stock car side where you can play around with the rear end a lot, you have loose race cars, but you can adjust mid-corner. These cars, you really can't be doing that too much, and that could potentially be where that disconnect is right now for the 2-time Truck Series champion.
You cannot play pushy loose too often without winding up in the wall in these cars, and Tyler's getting a quick lesson in that right now, back at the back end of the field for causing the yellow.
Yeah, he'll restart from the tail end of the longest line here, or the line here. We'll see again. 22 laps.
Yeah, we
total
don't do
completed.
that choose cone stuff around here.
That's fair enough. Again, I've got all of those phrases stuck in my head now because I've been covering so many of the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Truck Series that we do here at Elite Racing Leagues. By the way, if you're watching and you're interested in following any of those series, we do have races Sunday nights, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Wednesday nights. We give you guys Thursdays and Saturdays off. That's it.
Actually, we give ourselves Thursdays and Saturdays off.
More so, let me tell you, I need those 2 days off.
We give the drivers those 2 days so they can have some family time, too.
They're allowed to emerge for 2 days a week from their driving sim dens, and they can interact, grab some food, and then head back in for the rest of the week.
Earn paychecks, things like that. Get some sunlight.
It's totally optional, though, of course.
Yeah. Some of these guys would sit there all week long with an IV hooked up with beer and stuff if they could.
Oh man, I'm sure they could, and I certainly know there are some drivers who can invest a ton of time into iRacing. And of course, when you look at the Pro Series, that is where they're investing so much of their time, and it's a very curious software because it really is. There really is a significant buffer in terms of the time you put in and then the performance you're able to get, where you have to put in a significant amount of time per week before you're getting anywhere close to what a lot of the professionals are doing.
And we're talking the professional sim racers, not the
Yes.
professionals in the real world.
Yes. Pace car should be peeling off this time by. That means we'll come around to 1 lap to go on this caution. Adriana Pinheiro will try to lead the field back down to the green flag once again. Try and get a nice long run here again. Few laps done on these tires, but of course they've mostly been under caution here. So pretty fresh tires, pretty full tanks for these guys. You've got quite a bit of room to play with, and we've got a potentially very long run on our hands if we can keep it green for the course of this fuel and tire run.
And of course, that is the big question: if we can stay green. Pinheiro, your leader, wire to wire so far. Henry Bennett, Frankenfield, Caleb Benchy, Victor Del Porto, your top 5. We are on lap 71 out of 250 here tonight in the signingdaysports.com 250 from the Milwaukee Mile. Let's give some credit to our folks at friends at Signing Day Sports, a platform that allows players and parents to control their own recruiting. If you've got a kid that wants to play college sports, signingdaysports.com is for you. It was launched back last year. 20,000 players on the platform. It is the platform for recruiting and program management by over 500 colleges and 700 high schools. They're doing football signing day along with baseball, softball, soccer, and basketball in the coming months. Check them out at signingdaysports.com as we head back to green.
Early lead again for Adriana Pinheiro, jumping away from Henry Bennett, exactly what he needs to do. Chad Frankenfield, though, trying to get to the rear wing there of the gearbox there of the number 1 car of Bennett, and he is there, and he's looking for a move down into turn 1 here.
He'll not make it barely. He pulls just ahead by a nose as they drag race down the back stretch. Bennett with a slight lead heading into 3.
Yeah, Bennett with that run off of the corner, and you're seeing again, like you were saying, that second lane is rubbering in really quickly here, and you're able to run up top there. Chad Frankenfield, though, with the run off the corner, he's going to keep it side by side. A great battle going on here for second, and of course, Adriana Pinheiro loves this. He's already a second over 1.25 seconds up the road.
And Frankenfield clears Bennett, heads into turn 3, solidly in second place right now, about 1.3 seconds behind Adriano Pinheiro.
Yeah, and here comes Victor Del Porto as well, trying to get to the back of Henry Bennett. So Bennett struggling on this restart here, might lose 2 positions before they settle into a groove here as that 1 car not taking off quite as strong as he might have hoped.
Sometime before the end of the race, we will be picking our KNP Graphics paint job of the race here, so keep an eye out for your favorite. See if your favorite matches up with ours. I'm kind of liking the Del Porto livery tonight.
Yeah, it's a very classic kind of livery. I'm enjoying that look as well. I think we've got...
but we need to look back in the back of the field as well.
For sure, but I think drivers have been heeding some of our words here, giving us some more identifiable liveries throughout the field. So I'm enjoying that, and it's easier to spot some of these guys as the caution flag is back out on the racetrack.
Oh, for crying out loud. What happened this time?
Let's head back to the iRace on.
I should point out that our buddy Henry Bennett, who won last week, we gave him a little grief about hiding his numbers in his livery, and he did not change them this week. We were trying to get him a sponsor so he would change it, and he didn't quite work.
Yeah, I would love to see someone on board with that car there. I'm trying to grab a look. I see somebody spinning out here. I'm trying to see if I can spot that number, as they're notoriously small in these Indy cars.
Which is why we complain when we can't see the number. If we can't see the numbers, we can't show you the replays, guys. For our drivers that are watching either live or on the replay, that's why we like to have the numbers so we can see what's happening.
Yep, here's Hunter Smith. Yep, getting a little bit, clipping that bottom lane. Again, a half spin, a self spin. It's enough to bring out the caution here, but thankfully nobody else.
But he kept it off the wall and kept going.
Yeah, exactly. So a good save there from Hunter Smith there. He's going to keep it in the 19th position. If it is a self spin, he might get the EOL here and start from the back, and looks like he is getting just that. But as he comes down pit road for fresh tires as well, this is kind of where we're starting to see maybe a little bit of a change up in strategy, as the top 12 all staying out on those older tires from the last time they came down. But from 13th on back, starting with Jared Rexing, who was up inside that top 5 or so, he's come down pit road. Brian Blauman as well with him in 14th position. Nick DeGroot, Ryan Schold, a lot of strong drivers here in this group that decided to pit this time by or pit recently. Let's see how their progress is through the field now that they've got about 30 laps advantage on their tires.
This may be a chance to get off strategy a little bit with the leaders and try to jump ahead.
Yeah,
more cars heading down pit row as well. A second wave.
Yeah, more cars coming down pit road, trying to get any kind of last splash of fuel if you can. I think this is the last lap that pit road will be open, so it gives you that opportunity again. Just kind of give yourself a little bit more to play with and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see again how this all kind of plays out. A long way to go in this race. We haven't even hit that halfway point yet. So I'm curious to see just how this all ultimately plays out for the guys who are going off strategy, taking things and trying things different from the leaders. Look at those names that we listed there who did come down pit road. They're the ones that we could potentially be talking about at the end of this race, in it with a chance to win.
26 cars still in the race. And we have 21 of those cars are still on the lead lap. Thanks to cautions that have caused the field to pack up, we've not had as many cars go a lap down as you might expect.
Yeah, it's been a pretty competitive field, though. I mean, it's spread out for sure, especially the likes of Adrian and Pinheiro to the rest of the field. But guys are able to make moves. You're seeing some overtakes on the racetrack. It is what you'd expect to see, really, from a short track here in the IndyCar Series. You're not going to be running side by side all the way around. It's not going to be like we saw at Michigan or like we've seen at Pocono in real life, or of course the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're not going to have that same style of racing. It is going to be a lot of single file with guys every now and then being able to go up and make a move.
Now, Brian Blauman was back in the pits again, along with Jay Shallington. Shallington back out now, along with Blauman. But Blauman lost several spots in that exchange just to get an extra pit stop in.
Yeah, remember that 29 car could still have some lingering damage, though. That he was involved in that big incident with Van der Sant and Tyler Fode. So he's been down pit road a lot. I think showing us 5 times down pit road was that last time. So, yeah, we'll see compared to, of course, the one time that most of the leaders have been down. So 29 car hasn't been having a straightforward day. Visually, it looks like there's no damage on it from where sitting, but there have been inconsistencies in the past with iRacing when watching, so we don't really know the full extent to what that driver is dealing with.
We will go green next time by with 81 laps in. We are on lap 81 right now. Adriano Pinheiro is your leader. Chad Frankenfield in second. Henry Bennett third. Victor Del Porto fourth. And Caleb Bensi is in fifth place. The leaders are all packed up right now. We'll see if anyone has anything for Adriano Pinheiro, who has led pretty much wire to wire so far tonight.
Yeah, he's been extremely impressive coming to this short track. Really has not put a foot wrong. We've seen he's really good at these types of tracks and getting underway, maintaining his tires as well and fuel over the course of a run. I remember at Homestead Miami Speedway, he was just fast throughout the entire run, and it never tapered off. It wasn't like he was good early on or later. Look at this 12 car as a very serious championship threat, assuming he stays out of other people's trouble, because every time he's in the race, he's in contention to win.
Pinheiro is one of these guys I'd love to see in a regular race car in the real world, because I just have the feeling he would do really well in one.
Yeah, he definitely seems like it. He's just really settled in this IndyCar Series. Again, like you said, the first time he's running in the elite racing leagues. Based on how he's driving, though, I'd assume he has experience driving this IR18 before and getting the most out of it. And there you see, even on 38-lap-old tires, yes, there have been a lot of cautions, but even on these older tires, still setting fastest laps of the race when the guys with the fresh tires aren't quite able to do that.
Let's go on board with him and watch.
Yeah, so this is what it looks like for the driver, who's actually right now only in fourth place in the championship, but like we said, he's been involved in a couple of incidents here with these crazy races we've had, but has won at Homestead Miami Speedway and has looked amazing here at this Milwaukee Mile.
Very smooth. He takes a little bit of a higher line into the turns than other drivers have been.
Yeah, and that could also be just a situation where he's got enough of a gap. He doesn't have to take risks. He isn't looking for that extra tenth of a second or that extra hundredth of a second to really have to ride up on the curbs or take every last, centimeter. He's got that gap. He's got that confidence in the car underneath him, and he can just kind of take it easy. And what people don't understand, and they always talk, I love talking to guys who talk about guys who've been dominant in their sports, who've had very easy cars to drive. You don't make mistakes when you're comfortable with your car. You make mistakes when you don't have the confidence through the corner or under braking or coming off of the corner. That's when you end up making mistakes and you end up crashing as a driver. When you've got the perfect car, when you've got the race-winning car, it's unlikely you're ever going to see that because you're so in tune with that vehicle.
Absolutely right. His turn-in point is a lot later than other drivers have been taking. If you look, he's not taking that low groove in. He never really gets down close to the yellow line on the inside of the corner.
Yeah,
his apexes are a lot higher.
Yeah, his apexes are higher, his entries are higher. He's making a much wider he's making a much wider arc here to the corner. He's carrying more speed through it. He's doing a great job here, and again, just very steady, getting it done, and again, isn't concerned about hot lapping or anything. I'm sure if he wanted to, he could go very aggressive, make a lot of those more aggressive moves, and get a great lap out of the car. We've seen that. He grabbed the pole position, of course. But right now he's in a situation where he did get pretty low actually that time there through 3 and 4, but he's in a situation where he doesn't need to push that much because he's still gapping second place Chad Frankenfield.
And he also knows that there's a long way to go. We're only on lap 90.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, conservation is 100% the game here. He's thinking about that. In the 4 races we've seen, you can already tell that he's a smart race car driver, and I talked about it a lot last week at Michigan, where you've got to be smart in order to win a race like that. You've got to be smart to win a race like this. You can't be making those crazy aggressive moves or pushing too hard because it is so easy to lose the car. We've seen Tyler Fode do it a couple of times. We've seen a ton of other drivers with a lot of experience amongst all of them do it.
As with many things in life, brains do outpace bravery. At times.
At times, yeah. I will give credit to the drivers who can really stick it in there and hang on especially for that one-lap pace. I mean, there are some drivers out here on iRacing who are unreal when it comes to grabbing that single or very short-run pace. But being able to do both the quick qualifying lap and then also spread it out into a long run, that's an impressive trait that, like you said, you'd love to see this guy in a proper race car, see what he could do.
Pinheiro has about a 1.3 second lead right now over Chad Frankenfield. Henry Bennett is third. Victor Del Porto is fourth. Caleb Bensi is fifth. As we start lap number 93.
right now. Pretty spread out field as a whole. We've got maybe a little bit of a battle here with Fabio Viana trying to get past Nick DeGroot. He is going to look to the inside here and try and see what he can do with that 89 car. You see Viana taking that much higher line, trying to get the run off the corner. DeGroot, of course, just taking the shortest route around the racetrack, and right now that's working pretty well for Nick DeGroot, and I think he might actually be gapping Fabio Viana a little bit. And excuse me, it might have been that Nick DeGroot just passed the 67 car as he is on fresh tires.
That could very well be, and Viana is taking that higher route, but DeGroot and Viana looks like he's about to get passed himself by Jared Rexing coming around on the inside.
Yeah, here come the guys who started on those fresh tires, right, on this past restart. Yeah. Jared Rexing, Nick DeGroot, both of these guys are the ones that you should be watching as potential threats here for a top 5, for a podium, for a win, potentially, even if this really works out here, this strategy gamble, really. I mean, there's so much
about
faster.
30 fewer laps on those tires.
Exactly. I mean, you're looking at Adriano Pinheiro. It says 50 laps on our screens here. However, of course, a lot of them were run under caution, so that's not a perfect picture, but you're still talking maybe 20, 30 laps difference between tire wears, and that is significant around a track like this where you're constantly scrubbing those right side tires.
And when you're back in the field like that, you're pushing to get to the front. You're putting even more wear on your tires than Pinheiro, Frankenfield, and Bennett are up at the front.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys are going to be wearing through them a little bit faster, but they've also got more of a buffer to help them right now. I mean, funnily enough, you look at the last laps there, Pinheiro was faster than Nick DeGroot and Jared Rexing both. So there's still pace in that 12 car despite the older tires, that these guys have. So it is going to take more than, I think, just a little bit of a different tire strategy to potentially dethrone Pinheiro here up at top. Though as we say that, Chad Frankenfield closing in a little bit on the last couple of laps, dropped it down under a second. Could this 15 car be coming after the 12 car here later in this run?
Or could it just be that the 12 car is 53 laps in and is starting to get just a little relaxed and maybe starting to lose those tires just a little bit? They're both equal on fuel, presumably.
Yeah, presumably both equal on fuel unless they're running different engine modes, which, of course, we don't have that information available to us in the booth, but that gap did just expand back up to 1.6 seconds. So it could have also been a situation where, I believe, let me take a look here, Pinheiro could be running in traffic or did just lap some traffic, and Chad Frankenfield's now dealing with that same traffic. So that's exactly what that is.
Pinheiro has a dog at home that barked, and he had to take a quick look away from the screen. That can happen, too, in iRacing, not in the real world, but the dogs in the family don't provide as many distractions in the real world as they do in iRacing from time to time.
Yeah, not quite. Unfortunately, I'd love to take a dog I'd love to see a dog in like the 2-seater, obviously around a street course or something, because you're talking something different. But I think a dog would absolutely love that.
You'd have to clean out the 2-seater afterwards, I suspect.
Who says they haven't had to do that for some of the other celebrities they've taken out? It is Mario Andretti driving, after all.
Well, I know they did not do it after I rode with Mario at Pocono a couple of years ago, but that was one of the highlights of my life, was getting to do the 2-seater with Mario.
Yeah, that must have absolutely been an incredible experience, and so cool to see people really get a chance to, again, we talk about it, a sim race, it is obviously not the same as real life, but people don't really realize what it actually takes to drive a race car.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it was, I want to say it was James Hinchcliffe who said this on his podcast with Alexander Rossi off track, but people don't realize because they can drive their road car, they assume they can drive a race car. You can kick a goal, or you can make a free throw in basketball, and you can understand how difficult it is for players to do that, or you can play football. You can play as a quarterback, at your Thanksgiving football game and understand how difficult that is. But you drive a car every day. You don't think it's a difficult thing to do until you really push that car.
And you're driving in an IndyCar 3, potentially 4 times as fast as you would on the highway.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you're just talking completely different stratosphere, right, in terms of speed. It's ridiculous how fast these things go. And again, we talk about this as small racetrack. They're still doing 180 miles an hour. Very few road cars can do 180 miles an hour with, a 10-mile long straightaway.
Put it this way, when you sign the waiver at the start of the experience, before you get behind the wheel and you sign that waiver, you're in for a completely different experience than you're going to get on the road.
Yeah, it must be extraordinary, and man, that's
We are starting to see some passing back in the pack here.
yeah, exactly. Thomas Geisler making a move there past Justin Fortner, I believe it was. Yep. And that's Brian Blauman, that 29 car, going down a lap. So really struggling with the pace. He is trying to change things up. We did see that with tires, but not really working. I think that car is pretty critically injured. He's just trying to grab points if other drivers go out, and that's kind of what you have to do, and it's going to be a very long night for him.
I'm trying to look. Is that Shallington in the green and white car?
Let's take a look. We got Jay Shallington here coming through turns 1 and 2. Not sure he
No,
was...
that's not Jay. Jay's got a bit more orange on that livery. I'm talking about the one right here behind. I'm having trouble seeing the car numbers here, but that one right there.
It could be Andrew Marquez in a brand new livery on that
that
87
I didn't
car.
recognize Marquez's livery from this week.
Yeah, we're used to seeing him in that red and yellow paint scheme that we gave him the K&P Graphics paint of the race for at Homestead Miami Speedway. But another looker here for
We have a yellow flag out. What happened this time?
for Marquez. Yeah, let's take a look and see what we can spot. I see the 05 car of Ryan Schuld stopped on the front straightaway.
And Marquez obviously going for the paint of the race 2 times now this season.
Without a doubt, yeah. We'll head back into the iRace Online replay, and I believe it was this 05 car. Let's see what we can find out about this incident with him.
Let's watch. Oh, he just gets up into the wall and ooh! Oh, head on into the inner safer barrier.
Yeah, that's a brutal hit there, and yeah, he's back on pit road. That car is going to be out of this race for sure. That's going to be our what is that? 7th retirement. Caution. Oh, 5th caution of the night, but 7th retirement. So 7th car out of this race, but yeah. Not great there for Ryan Schuld. Unfortunate there. You could just get a little bit high off the corner, and that can cause all of that. And here we go. We do have the leaders on pit road.
Can we watch his in-car? Can we get the view from his in-car on that?
Absolutely. We'll head to the iRace Online replay. We got guys on pit road right now. We'll get back to you and update you if there's any.
All the leaders are in right now.
Yeah, we'll let you guys
Your
know.
top 12 cars are all into the pits right now.
Yeah.
While that's coming up, Alexander Aragon is staying out on the track and is taking over the provisional lead right now. He's 33 laps on the tires and staying out just to get off sequence a bit here.
All right, here we go. We're going to ride for an onboard, a couple of corners here with a car here. You got Ryan Schuld in this 26. That high entry that we saw Adriano Pinheiro doing, but he gets maybe a little bit... He gets tight off the corner is the real surprising thing. And, yeah.
Gets up into the wall and boom, right there. Once again, no drivers actually injured in this. It's all virtual, and the pixels can be replaced easily.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very fortunate thing, especially because I'm not quite sure. I would assume Milwaukee has the safer barriers installed, but it also hasn't been used in quite a few years here for IndyCar or NASCAR, though I think those are safer barriers on the outside of the racetrack.
Yeah, they did put safer barriers in because NASCAR ran Xfinity there for a couple of I think maybe 4 to 5 years ago, and they had to have the safer barriers there for NASCAR as well as IndyCar.
Yeah, you can just see them there at the bottom of the shot there, so yeah. Nice catch there, and yeah, good that it's still a very functional racetrack then, and man, I'd love to see more top series running back at this racetrack because I think it does provide a very unique challenge to a lot of the drivers in both IndyCar and NASCAR.
And just the history of the Milwaukee Mile is when we realize that racing started there before Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And at the time, it was actually the oldest continuously run racetrack in the country, even older than Indy. And sadly has gone by the wayside in the last several years and keeps coming back occasionally. We have more cars hitting the pits now.
Yeah, that was Alexander Regan thinking about coming down pit road, but deciding against it ultimately. Or excuse me, that was him making that move to take over the lead here, and he will restart in front of Adriano Pinheiro in the 12th car. He's got 35 laps on those tires, though, and this time, a lot of those laps, most of those laps, were under green flag conditions. It's going to be a tough restart, I think, for this 32 car. He's getting that track position. I think he's betting on there being another caution relatively soon, or a few cautions here within back-to-back of each other, but this is a very interesting call by the 32.
It's a chance to get on camera and get some time for his livery and talking about his sponsors. But he may not have that lead for much longer.
Yeah, he might actually be coming
Let's
down
watch.
pit road
Here comes the pace car. You're right, he is coming off now, so he's getting out of the way. Pinheiro takes over the lead of the race. Frankenfield. Henry Bennett will take over third. Del Porto fourth. Troiano will be in fifth place as they come around. They'll take the finish this lap under caution and then take the green flag with Pinheiro your leader again. We are at lap number 114 out of 250 tonight in the signingdaysports.com 250 at Milwaukee. Thanks again to our sponsors, Richmar Florists and C2 Freight Solutions. I'm Mark Gillespie, along with Rishav Kozla. We're excited to bring you all the action tonight on the Elite Racing channel here on YouTube as Pinheiro leads the field down to green one more time.
Here we go. We're going to try for another restart here. Once again, a great jump by the 12th car of Adriano Pinheiro. Chad Frankenfield going to have to deal with Henry Bennett potentially behind him, though Bennett as well having to deal with Victor Del Porto. So once again, these guys fighting it out, want to be the ones who can take it to Adriano Pinheiro, but right now it's certainly favoring that 12 car as they kind of squabble amongst themselves. A solid restart here, but high off the turn 4 for Henry Bennett. He's going to now fall in danger of being passed here by Victor Del Porto.
And Del Porto comes down, takes that position going into turn number 1. Drops Bennett to 4th. Del Porto now in 3rd place. Opens up that lead just a little bit going down the back stretch.
Yeah, we'll see what Bennett can do. He's struggled on these restarts, though, the past couple of times we've had them here. But he's coming back here at Victor Del Porto. I'm sure he's not going to let him go away super easily. I wonder if that one car is focused maybe a little bit more on getting longer run speed out of it, or that's where he's more comfortable, and he's struggling when the tires are fresh, the tire pressures are low. He's not quite able to get there. They've now probably come up to temp. They've probably come up to pressure. He's making the move on the inside of Victor Del Porto, trying to grab that 3rd position once again.
Bennett is the defending series champion, and they get really close heading into turn 1. Bennett takes the lead in that battle for 3rd going down the backstretch now.
Yeah, now you got to see what's up with Del Porto, if he's able to come back at it, or if he's now going to fall behind Eric Troiano, who's been coming up behind these two guys trying to grab that last that 4th position here. He's looking very hungry and trying to get past Victor Del Porto. We'll see what he can do as he's kind of just stalking right now behind the 27 car. Maybe running a little bit of a different lane, just trying to get some clean air on that front wing.
Meanwhile, Adriano Pinheiro has opened up about a 1.2 second lead over Chad Frankenfield. As we come down to complete lap 119, we're getting close to the halfway point here at Milwaukee.
Yeah, it can certainly come up on you pretty quickly. We obviously had quite a few cautions later in this first half that kind of stalled out a lot of the momentum we had. But when we get these long runs in, they really tick through the laps very, very quickly here. Just a 23-second lap most of the time here for these drivers. So yeah, we can get laps done pretty shortly here. 23 seconds to cover a mile is just a ridiculous statement there.
It's fun to watch the stats that we're looking at off screen that you probably can't see, because when they look at the speed is measured on our display is in kilometers per hour. So right now Pinheiro is doing something like 230 kilometers per hour, which is really about a little over about 120 or so. But when you look at it, he's up to now almost at one point hit 287 kilometers, which is getting close to 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. I've I enjoy that quite a bit, and despite the fact that we show most of our speeds in miles per hour and that kind of stuff, especially on the overlay, for some reason timing and scoring insists every time to show it in kilometers per hour. But again, like you said, it gives a fun little view at that. I've always loved watching, especially at as we have another caution flag out. I used to always enjoy at super speedway races in NASCAR that you'd see drivers going well in excess of 300, about 350 or something kilometers an hour.
Let's see if we can figure.
Yeah, looks like it might have been Jared Rexing here in the 10 car. We'll head back to that iRacing Online replay and see what happened. He was having a good run up until this point.
Had a good run last week too.
For sure, yeah. He's been, I think he's been new to this series. I believe a rookie here.
Whoa!
Similar to what we saw with Tyler Fode there, just loose off the corner, and also take into account, I mean, Rexing comes from the same background as Tyler Fode. Both of them stock car drivers, stock car race winners here in the Elite Racing Leagues. They're probably making moves that you can really do and could potentially give you an advantage in a stock car where you're making adjustments mid-corner. You can't do that in an IndyCar, and it is a very steep learning curve to get used to these things on ovals.
But he was able to keep it off the wall and keep going, but he will need to pit to get the flat spotted tires removed, and he'll go back to the end of the line.
Yeah, that'll obviously hurt him, but again, we just crossed that halfway point. A long way to go in this race. We've seen that 10 car kind of move up and down the order as well with different strategies, trying different things out, which I like to see from him. Jared Rexing, a very strong driver.
Del Porto's in the pits now, out of the top 5.
Oh, that is interesting. Yep, a great.
Along with AJ Musselman and Hunter Smith is in the pits as well.
Yeah, so Del Porto, that's a very interesting one for me. A great pit stop, by the way, but...
And Rexing is in the pits as well.
Yeah, Rexing makes sense. He'd be in the pits. He came off of that incident there, wants to get those flat-spotted tires off. Del Porto, though, I'm curious to see how this plays out for him because he was inside that top 5. He did look just as strong as the other drivers, and he didn't have very old tires. I mean, you're looking at, he pitted with Adriano Pinheiro, Chad Frankenfield, Henry Bennett.
Right.
They've got 15 laps on those tires, so an interesting call, a strategy call most likely for Victor Del Porto.
This gets him off strategy with them a little bit. This might give him a bit of an advantage towards the end of the race. We'll have to find out. Pinheiro is still your leader. Frankenfield, Bennett, Eric Troiano, and Thomas Geisler, your top 5. We have another car heading down pit road right now. I believe that's Mark Rebelis. I could be wrong about that.
Yep, I believe you'd be correct there. The 09 car of Mark Rebelis coming down pit road, just stopping at his box, grabbing some fresh tires here. I think he was a lap down, so he pits a lap later, of course. And yeah, he'll come back around. We'll have maybe 1 or 2 more laps behind the pace car, and then we'll have that 1 more lap before we get back to green flag racing.
The drivers seem to be adapting pretty well to the flat track here. It's been obviously since last season, since the IndyCar season at Elite Racing, where they ran on this track. So it's interesting to watch that a lot of the guys have been able to adapt to the flat corners with no trouble tonight.
Yeah, I mean, like you said at the top of the show, is it probably favors more, or it shares more similarity with a road course, just a 4 left-hand cornered road course than some of the ovals that we go to on in this series, especially with how different the package is between the short oval and larger than 1.5 mile ovals here in IndyCar. So it is a very interesting balance that these guys are having to play with, but I think a lot of them come off of or are more familiar with running road courses, and that could be just a very easy transition for them. And even if you're coming off of ovals, you're pretty familiar with the short oval experience, pretty familiar with just driving ovals in general. You're combining the 2 different driving styles, and both these guys come as you have to come as this kind of mixed package as an IndyCar driver. You have to be good at all these different types of tracks.
24 cars left in the race right now. 19 of them on the lead lap as the pace car comes off. Pinheiro will take them around 1 more time before going for green.
I'm curious to see what can Frankenfield do if he can get away to a good restart here, try and challenge Pinheiro. Will Henry Bennett come back at Chad Frankenfield, try and get a better restart this time? Running on older tires, that means they're up to pressure, they're up to temperature, and don't have to worry too much about those that we've potentially seen Bennett struggling a little bit with those fresher tires. And then, of course, the big question mark is Victor Del Porto restarting in the 15th position. How much progress can he make moving forward, and how much of an advantage does he have on those new tires, if it's direct pace or if he's thinking long game strategy here with that move?
Let's watch as Pinheiro takes the green flag and they head back down into turn 1. About a 0.3 of a second lead over Frankenfield. Bennett right behind it. Troiano and Geisler. You're on board right now with Adriano Pinheiro looking out the back. So far, Frankenfield has not been able to get up into the gearbox yet and get into a position to make a move.
Yeah, not quite. You see, just again, Adriano Pinheiro spreading out. Very nice here and giving himself a solid gap to work with. We have to go a little bit further back for our closest battle on track right now. It's Chris Wilhite trying to get past Justin Fortner. Here at
it's a battle for 8th.
Yep, and we've actually got Thomas Geisler making a move on Caleb Bensi up in front here, or trying to make a move, trying to get to the inside of that number 21 car. And Geisler looking once again to the inside. Not quite able to get there, though, in turns 1 and 2.
We haven't talked about Geisler much, but if you look at that car, that could be a candidate for our paint of the race tonight.
It absolutely could. I'd love to see if we can get a closer shot of it potentially, and this might be one of them. But yeah, there's kind of a chrome finish on that for sure. I'm kind of trying to see what else you can spot. Obviously, the body panels on these IndyCars just not quite as big as what you're used to seeing. And it is certainly unfortunate, because you do want to enjoy. You can come up with some very unique paint schemes on these IndyCars. You don't get a chance to really properly enjoy them. But here we go. Geisler once again looking to the inside, looking to defend over Andrew Marquez, who's making that move. I'm not used to seeing Andrew Marquez in a blue race car.
And there goes Marquez taking over that position over Geisler, heading into turn 2 now, and heading down the backstretch. Geisler tucking in behind him. Let's see if Geisler makes a move going into 3. Nope. He's backing out just a little bit. He'll be patient. Plenty of time left in this race.
Yeah, pretty spread out so far on timing and scoring. Again, guys, just settling into a groove here, trying to get as many laps in under our belt as we can, especially on these long runs. We want to try and get these big long runs done. I don't think with the pattern we've seen so far we're going to see green flag pit stops at any point. But if we can knock out, 40 laps, 50 laps between yellow flags, I think that's pretty significant, and gets, it keeps the momentum up in the race, keeps the interest up in the race, and these drivers are able to make more moves, because I think on these restarts, you are just a little bit spread out. You are forced to kind of lay back a little bit, figure out what you've got underneath you, and then you start slowly working your way up to the rear wing of the guy in front of you, and then you make your move. So it's a lot more of a process here, and you need to let it play out over the course of a run.
Well said. As Pinheiro is now up to about a 1.4 second lead over Frankenfield.
Yeah, it's going to take something special to beat Adriano Pinheiro here today, or some pretty bad luck for that 12 car to potentially knock him out of contention here. He's just been so strong, and nobody's been able to touch him when it comes to one lap pace on the short runs, or even when we did have I think it was a 35-40 lap run earlier in the race. Even when we had that, nobody could touch Pinheiro. That gap remained pretty constant. So once he gets out to that 1.5 seconds, Chad Frankenfield, Henry Bennett, we saw, of course, Victor Del Porto was up there as well in the second position for a little while. None of them could close that gap, that 1.5 seconds to Adriano Pinheiro.
And Victor Del Porto has not been able to advance from 15th after that pit stop during the last caution.
Yeah, it hasn't quite been the run that Victor Del Porto wanted. He's had some solid pace here, but he right now stuck a little bit behind the 5 car of Alec Balvans, because, again, you can't really force a move around this racetrack. So he is just forced to kind of sit, and I think what we're learning, at least, and what I hope Victor Del Porto is learning, and again, some of the guys who might be watching this 27 car is saying, if it comes down to it, I'm not sure I want to take tires. Now, of course, if you're the leader, you're screwed either way. But if you're a little bit further in the pack, you're not the leader. You're starting to think maybe I don't feel like taking tires if we have a late race restart, because track position seems to be so brutal and so important to these guys.
Yeah, you can't if you can't make a move, it doesn't help no matter what tires you have. If you can't get around at all, it doesn't make sense to take the tires and take that loss.
Yeah, exactly. You're giving up track position for pace advantage, but you can't utilize that pace advantage. He's trying here, though. He's going to try and go for an outside move here on Alec Balvins.
Let's watch and see if he can make it stick. Not quite. Getting close. Nope. Almost a little contact there.
I think he got it there, actually. Victor Del Porto passed the 5 car. There was the battle in front as
did.
well between Viana and Madonia. That's also taking place, and also a great one to watch here as Madonia, I think, just a nose ahead down the inside as Fabio Viana trying to hang on in the outside. He should have the run off the corner, though, and keep this battle going, and Victor Del Porto should hopefully, for his case, just be able to slide up in there and say thank you to both of them for that position.
And Viana does hold off, but Madonia takes it back.
Yeah, there we go. There goes Victor Del Porto. He's already on the inside of Viana. He's going to try and get to the back of Madonia as well, try and get both of those moves done in quick succession so he can move forward, because there's a 2.5 second gap from them to the next car in line, the 11th place Jordan Owens in the number 45.
Pinheiro has opened up the lead to almost 1.9 seconds now over Frankenfield in second place. And other than that bit during the stop during one of the cautions when Alexandra Rigon took over for a couple of laps, Pinheiro has not really been challenged tonight at all.
No, he really hasn't, and this is also him growing out that lead to one of the bigger ones we've seen tonight. I think there was a point earlier in this race where it stretched out to about 2.5 seconds or something like that, so hasn't quite been able to reach that same length. But yeah, I mean, Chad Frankenfield can't do much. Henry Bennett, it's not like Chad's having to fight off Henry Bennett as well, because Bennett's struggling to keep up with Chad. So it's a very clear 1-2-3 up front right now with Pinheiro over Frankenfield over Bennett. Then once we get further back, I think you see guys getting a little bit closer to each other. The ability to make a few more moves, the field tightens up a little bit. But up front, it's a very clear progression of 1-2-3.
You're watching as Victor Del Porto in 13th challenges Brendan Madonia for 12th place. We're on board with Del Porto now at 170 miles an hour heading down the main stretch into turn 1.
Yeah, you top out there at 181 miles an hour, which is, again, just completely ridiculous when you look at the size of this racetrack, the kind of speeds these guys are hitting. So, I mean, just super impressive machines, super impressive drivers, of course, being able to hang on to these things. But Victor Del Porto right now, you can see getting tight off the corner, and that's going to be that aero wash that you get from having to drive behind another car on these short racetracks. It's going to be tough for him to overcome that. You'd hope the tires would do so, but he's probably reached that point as well where that new fresh sheen has come off the tires, and they're about as good as anybody else's on the racetrack.
He gets up close to Madonia, who has 15 more laps on his tires, but Madonia is still able to hold on to that position.
Del Porto taking a much lower entrance to the corner. He's trying to get to the inside of Madonia there and force that 49 car up the road there. You see there that shallow entry, but that's hurting him on the exit, so it hurts his ability to make it to the back bumper of Madonia. He's actually much closer off the corner that time. He had a really great entrance. Madonia didn't have quite as strong of an exit versus, and that differential obviously favored Del Porto. But once again, Del Porto really just trying to stick his nose in there, and once he gets there, he's hoping he can pull off the move.
He gets close every time coming out of 4 the last couple of laps, but just can't quite pull it off.
Yeah, not quite. He's going to look again into 1. He likes looking, and there you go. He does get that nose in, and like I was saying, once you get the nose to the inside, that hopefully gives you that opening to make the move. You've suddenly very much tightened up the track that the guy in front is allowed to use, but a great run off the corner by Brendan Madonia means that Victor Del Porto once again has to try and make that dive to the inside, and we could see this
He pulls it off. Let's see if
not
he can hold
quite.
it. He had it at the almost coming out of the corner. Now he's got it.
Yeah, exactly. So he's really fast at the entrance and at the middle of the corner, but because Madonia has been running that higher line, he had such a great launch off of 2 and 4, and that made it so difficult for Victor Del Porto to get past. Del Porto is past now, up to 12th position, but still very much further behind where he would have been had he stayed out on the racetrack, probably running in the 3rd or 4th position.
And he is still a significant about a 1.3 or so seconds behind Jordan Owens in terms of getting up to 11th position.
Yeah, he's got some work to do here. 1.1 seconds back from Jordan Owens, who in turn is 1 second back from this little battle we've got going on here, which I'm going to enjoy watching. Nick DeGroot trying to get past Chris Wilhite, in turn trying to get past Justin Fortner. Here we go. And then I think they're also catching, or no, excuse me, that's a lap car that they're catching to just add a little bit to the spice here.
And that's kind of spice you really don't want. We're down inside of 100 laps to go now. We're on lap 156, about to complete that one. The leaders all have about 45 laps on their tires. We still have plenty of space left before the next pit stop round.
Yeah, this is where you start seeing the big differentials between drivers later in this run, and this is why we want to see these long runs around these racetracks. This is what IndyCar short racing is at its best, because you have so many different drivers trying different things, trying different lines, saving their tires, saving their fuel in different ways. That means that you get 45 laps into a run, and you've got these big differences in speed. You've got guys who fell back early in the run moving forward now because they have such a great pace advantage on that top side. This is what IndyCar short track racing is. This is what we get when we stay green.
And Chris Wilhite, Justin Fortner battling for 8th position right now. Wilhite with a slight advantage after passing on the last lap. They get really close coming out of 2.
Yeah, Nick DeGroot as well looking and just kind of enjoying this battle here. And he's now going to try and potentially look for a move on the top side, just kind of following right now behind Geisler and Wilhite as they go side by side. DeGroot looking very strong. He could be making a move, and he does. Dives to the bottom.
DeGroot tries to go down underneath Fortner, but doesn't quite pull it off this time by.
We got another lap car in front of them trying to get by, and Brian Blauman definitely not making it easy, as he is 1 lap down right now, so pushing them a little bit tight there as he goes 2 laps down from these guys, and they all clear him. Nice and clear, though, so no potential incidents there. But that is something that, again, if you're...
Nick DeGroot hasn't cleared him yet. DeGroot just cleared him.
Yeah,
okay.
it was Victor Del Porto.
He got an accident.
I think
Del
he saved
Porto
it.
spins.
Del Porto saved it, I think. He got very loose off of 2, but he is still running in the right direction. Victor Del Porto saves it. A great save there.
Good save.
Yeah, seriously, and we stay back in green flag racing here. Yeah, geez, that was aggressive off the corner. He was on that curbing, and you can lose it so easily there.
Del Porto makes a move there under Jared Rexing to get a position back that he lost.
Yeah, he'll be moving back forward. He'll be trying to get to Jordan Owens. He has gotten to Jordan Owens. He's joined this pack here that's been fighting it out. And further up the road, you've got Fortner versus Nick DeGroot, and DeGroot's going to take that inside line and probably get the pass completed here on Justin Fortner coming off of 2.
And Fortner is going to have a whole mirror full of Jordan Owens right now.
Yeah, it looks like Justin Fortner right now maybe struggling a little bit on those tires. He's been falling back a couple of spots on those past 2 laps. Jordan Owens looks strong. He's looking good in later in this run. And, of course, here comes Victor Del Porto looking to try and get past Jordan Owens.
And Del Porto makes that move. Pay off. Coming down the back stretch.
He's tight off the corner, and that's going to give Owens the chance on the outside here. But once again, Del Porto, a great dive into the corner by Jordan Owens, and he's probably going to keep that spot over Victor Del Porto as they're side by side off the corner, but Owens should have the momentum on his side.
But Del Porto takes the pass coming on the inside. Let's watch if Owens can pull it off on the outside. He does.
Easily, yeah, and he might even pull Rexing along with him on the outside as Del Porto stuck. He's constrained to a very, very tight radius here, and that means he has to reach much slower speeds, come off at much slower speeds than what Owens is doing and what Rexing is doing, which is taking a massive arc around that top side of this racetrack. You can see right there just how high up Rexing goes, and that's going to give him this ridiculous run off of 2.
And here comes Rexing. He clears Del Porto.
Yeah, so Del Porto, in trying to pass Jordan Owens, just lost a spot to Jared Rexing. So, I mean, that right there was a fantastic example of the different strengths of drivers on these short tracks and what kind of racing you get here in these long runs.
It's a risk versus reward move, trying to make that pass and knowing that you might actually wind up losing a position if you don't pull that pass off.
Absolutely, yeah. You really have to be careful about it, as here we go, Jared Rexing looking to try and get past Jordan Owens. But, yeah, I mean, he's almost there. I think he might clear it here.
He made it clear. He's cleared it.
There we go, Jared Rexing then moving up to the 11th position. But, yeah, you have to think, again, like we were saying earlier, the brains do have to beat the brawn at some point in the race, or they have to take priority over that. And this is another one of those situations.
He's going after Fortner now.
Yeah, look at Jared Rexing here. He's got great pace right now. He's got the same tires, we should note, as Victor Del Porto. He's on that same strategy as that 27 car. So Jared Rexing is kind of the direct competitor with Victor Del Porto, but Rexing has looked extremely strong and is making these moves. He's aggressive getting into the corner, but also maintaining the pace off the corner. Great job right now by this 10 car.
And Del Porto's making a move as well, along with Jordan Owens coming up on Fortner behind them.
Yep, side by side. Once again with Jordan Owens. This time, though, Victor Del Porto on the top side. This should favor him. Once he gets to that top, he's better into the corner because of those tires, and he gets the speed off of it. There you go. Victor Del Porto up to the 12th position, now chasing down Justin Fortner.
We should look at maybe say Jordan Owens' in-car here if we can.
Yeah, before we do that, we do have a little bit of a battle going on here for the 4th position. Henry Bennett lost third to Eric Troiano a few laps ago, but Caleb Benchy now as well trying to get past the one car of Henry Bennett. So Bennett right now is the guy who's struggling up front here. He's dropped from 3rd to 5th in the span of just a couple of laps and might lose another position as here comes Andrew Marquez trying to get past that one car.
Tires are starting to fall off now, 60 laps into this stint.
They absolutely are, yeah, and a lot of drivers.
Let's go on board with Marquez then and watch this from behind.
For sure, this is what it looks like in the cockpit behind 3 other IndyCars here out on the racetrack. What Marquez is dealing with in terms of aero push or anything quite like that, as well as tire wear, of course, low fuel, all of that playing into effect. Unfortunately, iRacing doesn't allow us to sneak a peek at just how much fuel is remaining on board with this 87 car. For of course the sake of competitors not getting that information, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to know what kind of fuel they're running and what kind of fuel economy they're getting, what engine modes a lot of these guys are running. Of course, we don't have that information, but right now Marquez looks like he saved a lot of his stuff early on, and he's coming for Henry Bennett.
Here comes the move. Nope, he pulls out.
He's not quite there, but Bennett is struggling here to get past this lap car, and he's really holding up the number 1, and that's giving Marquez a chance to make it. Here we go. They're going to run side by side, and I don't actually know who that is. I believe that's the 41 car there of A.J. Hobson, who's trying to stay ahead of these guys. He's got fresher tires than them. Or, excuse me, no, he doesn't. He's just doing a great job at hanging on late in this run. As there you see, Henry Bennett gets tight off the corner, and that's going to give Andrew Marquez a chance to get to the inside and go for that 3rd or that 4th position.
Now, when you've got Hobson in the way, will race control try to flag him and get him to tell him to get out of the way and let the leaders pass through?
So I believe the way there will be blue flags waved for A.J. Hobson. However, they are not Formula 1 style blue flags where it's, hey, the leaders are coming, you better park your car and get out of the way. They're very much just alerting you that there's a faster car, a car from a lap or 2 ahead of you. From behind, as you see, almost gets into the back of Henry Bennett. Bennett is struggling with those tires right now. They won't force you to get out of the way. Obviously, there's a certain amount of courtesy that the drivers up front expect, though, of course, you are not required to do anything.
And, of course, what comes around goes around.
For sure, yeah. I'm curious about this one car right now, and when we hit that fuel window, really, whenever that shows up, because we're about 75 laps away from completing this race. That might be too long.
Go on board
here
with Henry and see how he's if we have a helmet cam on him. Let's see how he's trying to handle this thing.
Yeah, here's on board with Henry Bennett. and he's just been tight off the corner. I want to see what this looks like. He's doing an okay job entering the corner, has a nice late apex, and I think he's had to move that apex, but there's he actually loose, I think, off of turn 2 that time. So he's just struggling with a lot of different things on this race car. A tight entrance, this is going to hurt his exit. I think that front right, the rear right corner are both completely destroyed on this one car by the looks of it.
Yeah, he could use a caution right now.
Yeah, he certainly could, and I think we're just on the edge of our fuel window. Assuming that 70 lap number I gave you was correct, and considering we're on lap 68 of this particular stint, maybe it was, or you know, I could be way under. But we're getting close. If we are under, we're getting close to that point where you'd want to start pitting, or that pit window is open to make it to the end of this race.
Bennett makes a move on a lapped car to get clear of that.
Yeah, he's now
69 laps in this stint for all of the leaders right now. All of the 8 top cars are on 69 laps in.
Yeah, the first
Jordan
guy,
Owens is actually 70 laps into his stint, along with Alec Balvance and Fabio Viano.
Yeah, how about that? Those guys have been running, I guess, for I guess they might have pitted a little bit earlier. The guys you want to watch are Jared Rexing and Victor Del Porto, who are 15 laps newer tires, 15 laps fuller fuel tank, I suppose, than everybody else around them. They have this larger window to play with. They will have to make another stop, I assume.
Yeah, they'll have to make another stop. There's no way they can get all the way to the finish, but if they can hold off, they might be able to get a bit of an advantage and maybe put the other leaders down a lap, depending on how long it takes them to get through the pits.
Exactly. They can put the leaders down a lap. That's the biggest thing. And if a caution comes out in that transfer period there, suddenly you've got Jared Rex and Victor Del Porto alone leading this race a lap ahead of the rest of this field.
Right now, Pinheiro is still your leader with about a 3.6 second lead now. He has widened that lead out to 3.7 seconds now over Chad Frankenfield. I got to think that Pinheiro is gunning it right now, trying to get a really good in-lap before he makes a green flag pit stop here, because he's got 73 laps on those tires. He's got to be running on fumes soon.
I mean, you'd imagine, but the amazing thing is that the tire drop-off has not been as significant as I thought it would be. On his last lap, Adriano Pinheiro was just 0.6 of a second off of his best time this last time here, 0.7 off of his best time here at this racetrack. They're still pacing that 12 car. I'm guessing that's a combination of tires maybe not wearing as fast as we
Frankenfield's in the
expected.
pits.
Ooh, okay. Nice catch there. Yeah, for Chad Frankenfield, brings it down pit road. This should kick it off for all of the guys up front. Henry Bennett as well, joining Chad Frankenfield on pit road.
And Bennett needed that. He needed to get fresh tires on that car.
Here comes our leader as well.
Pinheiro got 75 laps. Eric Troiano has moved into the lead right now, but he has 75 laps on his tires. He's not going to be able to stay out much longer.
Yeah, I'd expect we're coming up to the end of this fuel run here. So all of these guys who stayed out on 75 or have been out for about 75 laps here, expect them to come down within the next lap or two.
Jordan Owens is in.
Yep, Jordan Owens is coming in. We got a lot of guys coming in and out of pit road right now, and of course, like we were saying, the guys this really benefits, Jared Rexing and Victor Del Porto,
who are now in third and fourth place.
And should inherit the lead here within a lap or two as Troiano and Wilhite. Your two leaders are still yet to pit. Both of them are on that same strategy. Troiano has just come down pit road. I'd expect the same from Chris Wilhite. Here we go, and Jared Rexing then becomes your new leader.
And Del Porto moves into second. Chris Wilhite is in the pits. Troiano is in the pits. Wilhite just hit his stall. Alec Balvance has now moved into fourth place behind Adriano Pinheiro, our leader for most of the night so far.
Yeah, Balvan's the only guy out really on that run that was the same as Pinheiro, Frankenfield, Troiano. He's in 78 laps. He's done a great job. He's going to bring that car down to pit road here. I think it's probably just about running on fumes right now. And now we wait for the next group, which is the Jared Rexings, the Victor Del Portos, the Hunter Smiths, the AJ Musselmans, who all came down a little bit offset, 15 laps or so offset from the rest of this group.
Are 190 laps into this, 60 laps left to go at the Milwaukee Mile tonight, the signing day Sports 250 at the virtual Milwaukee Mile. You're watching the Elite Racing channel on the Elite Racing League. Richmar Florists and C2 Freight Resources are bringing you tonight's coverage of the Signing Day Sports.com 250. I'm Mark Gillespie, along with Rishov Khosla at the virtual Milwaukee Mile. Jared Rexing is your leader, followed by Victor Del Porto. About 2 seconds back, Adriano Pinheiro has led most of the race tonight. He is in third. Eric Triano fourth. Chad Frankenfield is in fifth.
Yeah, so the big question is going to be here is what is the pace advantage that Adriano Pinheiro has over Jared Rexing? Can he close that gap much, or how is that going to fare? And right now, it's actually not as significant as you'd expect it to be with 66 laps versus 6.
We've got a yellow. We've got a yellow and a car in the wall. 2 cars in turn 4.
2 cars in the wall, turn 4. Let's take a look. Looks like the 53 of A.J. Musselman was involved in that, potentially. No, he's coming off pit road. Excuse me.
It looks like Mark Rebelis, rather. I'm sorry.
Potentially Chad Frankenfield as well, one of our lead pack cars here. Let's head back to the iRace Online replay. Chad Frankenfield on pit road. That, to me, is a cause for concern. All right, here we go, watching Chad Frankenfield. He's making his way through some lap traffic, and that could potentially be exactly what the situation is. We'll take a look. See there, I think, who is that? I believe that might be the 29 car, actually, of Brian Blauman, and it is.
Yeah.
So Brian Blauman there involved in that incident with Chad Frankenfield. I want to see if we can grab an onboard from Chad and see what that looked like there.
Because it looks like he was the one who ran into Brian Blauman, but I could be wrong about that.
That's what it certainly looked like from the outside, and I'm curious to hear, or curious to see what that looks like. So this is on board with Chad Frankenfield. There's Brian Blauman up in front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like Blauman brake checked a little bit.
Blauman brake checked a little bit, but it did look a little bit like Chad Frankenfield as well. That I'd probably see as a racing incident on both.
There's 50-50 on both.
Yeah, I think both drivers definitely.
Blauman slowed up, but Frankenfield might catch. Well, there's too much damage for him to continue and to be a factor.
Yeah, I think both those drivers, their days are done.
Now it's going to be interesting to see because we have approximately 56 laps left to go. We're on lap 194, and if you pit from here, you can make it the rest of the way.
Yeah, you can. But I think you could probably make it the rest of the way on the tires that you're on. Obviously, the big winners we talked about, Victor Del Porto and Jared Rexing, they came on and off pit road, and they were still running 4th and 5th. So we talked about how that might not have been working for them earlier on in this run, but that caution came out at the perfect time for those 2 drivers. They're very much in contention. Again, I don't know how much of an advantage they're going to get with 6 laps newer tires and 6 laps less of fuel, or I guess 6 laps more of fuel. But it's still an advantage, right? And it gives them that more flexibility. They could run a higher engine mode if they have that available to them.
And Adriano Pinheiro has retaken the lead on the exchange of pit stops. Eric Triano, Caleb Bensi in third. Del Porto and Rexing are 4th and 5th. Andrew Marquez is 6th. Henry Bennett 7th. Chris Wilhite 8th. Nick DeGroot is in 9th, and Jordan Owens is in 10th position right now. We are on lap 195 of 250.
Yeah, let's see if we can get that 50-lap run in to get to the end here, though. This is the first caution we've had in a little while, and we'll see just how aggressive guys are on this restart. This is the first time they're maybe close to one another once again, or the order's shaken up a little bit, so you might be racing somebody that you weren't necessarily before.
We're down to 9 cars on the lead lap and 22 cars in the race overall.
Yeah, it's been a tough race for a lot of cars out here. In all fairness, though, I mean, it has not been the same race of attrition that we've seen in the past couple of weeks here in this IndyCar Series. They've actually been pretty well behaved as a whole. We've had a couple of incidents, of course, pretty severe incidents here and there, and of course we did have that period in the early 100s, I think it was, or before the early 100s, where it was a few cautions back to back to back. But once we get moving, once we really get maybe 10, 15, 20 laps into this run, these guys do a really good job at just handling the expectations on these tires and handling how you have to make moves. They do a really good job at that.
Right. They have settled down just a little bit. The pace car is off right now, so we will see Pinheiro lead them down for one more lap under caution and return to the fray at lap 198. When we start that one as they come by next time around.
Adriano Pinheiro, once again, he did lose that big comfy lead that he had, but I would be surprised if he doesn't rebuild that or some version of that once again. An early jump once again, and that's going to be fantastic for him. It's Eric Troiano and Caleb Benchy this time, who are the two cars starting behind him. With, I believe that might be a lapped car or two lapped cars in between them before they're even close. So again, already a huge advantage for Adriano Pinheiro as Troiano and Benchy and the rest of the field have to get through these two lapped cars.
And I think that one lapped car is pulling out of the way and trying to let other traffic through. Hard to tell who that lapped car is, but
yeah, it is tricky to tell exactly who that is on the racetrack. That might be the 14 car, or excuse me, the 14's Eric Troiano. It might be the 41 car.
Of A.J. Hobson.
A.J. Hobson, I believe it is, and he's dropping back a little bit, allowing these guys to go by. But I mean, there you go. That's the gap right here. We'll head to the nose camera for Eric Troiano, and when he comes off the corner, you'll see just how far ahead Adriano Pinheiro is. There you see that car, and it doesn't look like far from this point of view, but man, it can be. 1.2 seconds at an oval. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. When you're doing 23-second laps, 1.2 seconds is a nasty lead.
It certainly is.
We are inside of 50 laps now, left in the signingdaysports.com, 250 at the virtual Milwaukee Mile. Don't forget to join us 2 weeks from tonight at Mid-Ohio, 7:30 Eastern Time in the Elite Racing Channel. You can catch all the action on YouTube and follow us all season long through the middle of June, when we wrap things up at Gateway on June 11th.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be fantastic, but we still have the entire month of May to get to.
Yeah.
And we've got all of these big events coming up for you guys. I believe the preliminary schedule has been released, so check it out on the Elite Racing League Twitter or the Elite Racing League website, www.eliteracingleague.com. We're going to have a ton of races, a ton of stuff to cover over the course of that month of May. Like you said last week, Mark, Speed Weeks has got nothing on this.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be busy. We're going to have fun, and we hope you'll have fun watching along with us. We're on lap 204 now. Pinheiro with a 0.7 of a second lead. Troiano has moved up just a little bit now that he's moved through some of the lapped traffic. Caleb Benchy in third. Victor Del Porto, Jared Rexing fourth and fifth.
Yeah, a little bit of a different top five than we've seen before. Troiano and Benchy both doing a great job moving forward as Henry Bennett and Chad Frankenfield have both kind of fallen out. Bennett still struggling back in the 7th position, has not been able to really make things up, and it seems like as this race continues to go on, this one car seems to just kind of get worse and worse, and I'm kind of curious as to why that might be. He's just struggling a little bit. He had great pace early on, but you know, every time we come to a restart, that one car is struggling more and more.
It's a question of setup. It could be any number of things because these are all fairly similar setups, I would expect. But the drivers do have control over their weight jackers and roll bars, and maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be, and he could just be playing around with that a little bit, trying to figure out where that balance was at the start of the race. Of course, time progression, weather progression, it could be a different track, completely different track conditions to the start, whether temperatures have changed or, you know, just the sheer fact that there's more rubber on the racetrack. changes the balance of that race car, and it might just be something that Henry Bennett not quite comfortable with yet. We'll see if that one car can start pushing forward, but it's getting to that point in the race where it really is crunch time. He's got to start moving forward and trying to see if he can get back inside that top 5.
He is making a move on Andrew Marquez in the 87. There he goes underneath Marquez.
That might actually just be a lapped car there. Marquez is a few more seconds up the road. He does get past the lapped vehicle.
You are correct. That car looks a lot like Marquez's car.
It certainly does, yeah. Yeah, Marquez.
Thank you for catching me on that one.
Yeah, no worries. We've got timing and scoring, and it can be confusing with all of these names and numbers staring at us all the time. And yeah, tricky to catch a lot of the little details that we'll sometimes miss here on the broadcast. Del Porto and Rexing are racing it out. They're going for it here for the 4th position. Right now it's advantage Rexing. He just made the move on Victor Del Porto. They're also, nope, they're a second behind Caleb Benchy. That's a lapped car in front of them. So, yeah, those lapped cars kind of starting mid-pack or spread throughout has really kind of confused this running order a little bit. It's made for a little bit tighter racing, a little bit more urgent racing. Eric Triano
makes it past lapped traffic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our leader is dealing with lap traffic right now.
And Del Porto can't quite get around.
Not quite able to get through. I think
there
the lapped car might give him a chance there. He will. Maybe not, actually. Here we go. Back on the outside. That's the... oh, man, I'm trying to figure out what number that is there on that car. Well, I'm not quite sure, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
It is very tricky to tell the numbers on these cars, sometimes the paint schemes. Pinheiro's lead did drop below a second and is currently sitting under a second. I think he's been dealing with a little bit of traffic, though. Actually, no, I'm seeing it's totally clear sailing for Troiano and Pinheiro. Could this be Eric Troiano, the first driver tonight who might be able to compete with this 12 car? He's kind of closing in little by little, lap after lap.
It's one of those cases where you'll believe it when you see it because Pinheiro has dominated tonight.
Yeah, he really has. The gap back up to about 1 second, so it might just be more so that Troiano has managed to match Adriano Pinheiro rather than kind of where everybody else was behind. So we'll see as the run goes on. I think Pinheiro probably gets stronger as the run goes on based off of history telling us that on that last long run. So this might be Eric Troiano's best shot to get by, but I don't think he has quite enough to get to the back, the rear wing there.
Well, he's still got 35 laps to go, so let's see what happens here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm talking about within the next, 5-10 laps here. I don't think the pace advantage is that significant. We'll see if he slowly keeps chipping away here at this leader. That gap, like I said, under 1 second, quite a bit smaller
let's
than
go
what
on
we
board
saw.
Let's go on board with Pinheiro and see how close he's getting to lapped traffic up ahead. He's still got to clear half a straightaway, but
yeah, he's coming off before the next lapped car just crossed the start-finish line.
Okay, so he's got half a straight.
Yeah, possibly even a little bit more than that, actually, as I'm watching the tracker here. It's the 09 car of Mark Rabilas. Just down the straightaway, you see them just going through turn 3 there on your camera. Just little specks right now, so no major concern for Pinheiro. He is, though, lapping about 0.8 of a second faster than them, so that's going to quickly shrink down in terms of when he'll reach the next set of lap traffic.
And he has about a 1 second lead over Troiano right now.
Yeah, he's opened it back up 1.1 seconds. He's going to get past the 09 and the 19 car. That's the next kind of group of lap cars. But then we've got a big pack from 18th on forward here. That's going to be tricky if Pinheiro gets to those guys before the end of this race. That could certainly close in this battle for the lead as I'm sure Pinheiro is probably getting to a point here where he might be starting to feel a little bit of aero wake from these cars in front. Might be a little bit too far back before he's feeling that, though.
Yeah, and I think Pinheiro is hoping for no cautions the rest of the way.
Oh, absolutely. Again, that 12 car, I think, gets stronger as the run goes on. He'd love to see this just go green. He can do his own thing. He knows how to keep it up front. He's been running stress-free this entire race, I think. I'm sure his heartbeat goes up just a little bit every time there is a restart. He hasn't been challenged on restarts, but there's always a chance that something could go wrong when you pack all these cars back up together.
That's the worst thing that could happen right now. Let's run through your top 10 now. Pinheiro, Eric Troiano in second, Caleb Benchy in third, Jared Rexing fourth, Victor Del Porto in fifth. Andrew Marquez is in sixth. Henry Bennett has had some issues tonight, running in seventh. Nick DeGroot is in eighth. Chris Wilhite ninth. Jordan Owens is in 10th. The third five, if you want to go that far. Thomas Geisler in 11th. Justin Fortner in 12th. Hunter Smith in 13th. Brendan Madonia 14th. And Alex Balvans is in 15th place. As of right now, we have 16 cars. Fabio Viana is the last car on the lead lap. I stand corrected. No, actually, we have 9 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah,
and we have 22 cars still listed as being in action.
Yeah, and just an impressive run for sure by Pinheiro. Despite some of those cautions that we had there, we did have some long runs, and yeah, to lap all the way through 10th position here, in this pack is an extremely impressive feat by these leaders here. Again, just shows just how wide that gap can sometimes get, especially when you run those longer tire stints. You get more of a gap, it builds up, things start changing, and you get a lot of shaking up within the order. And again, I love long runs on a short track when you can get them. The tricky part, of course, is getting those long runs to happen.
Yeah, and making sure that everybody behaves themselves. So we are getting down to about 25 laps to go. Do we want to pick a paint of the race early on tonight, or do you want to wait till later on?
I mean, I'd love to hear your nominations. I'm kind of, I haven't really spotted one that stands out to me for sure. I mean, there's a lot of good ones throughout the field, without a doubt. But I'd love to hear which ones have caught your eye.
Well, I hate to give it to Marquez for a second race with a different livery, just on general principles, but just to sort of spread it around a little bit here. I think, did we give it to Pinheiro when he won at Homestead?
We did not. Adriano Pinheiro here has not received a K&P Graphics Paint of the Race. I will say, I don't know if it's a new feature, but it has been a more identifiable car. He's got those red wheels. We do have, I think, a couple of other cars with a similar paint scheme to what Adriano Pinheiro tends to run, that Bread King white livery.
Now, Victor Del Porto in the 27 has that sort of classic Rahal-like livery.
Yeah, big fan of this one. I'm always a sucker for this style of livery, just very simple lines, but you get those very bold colors going from blue and red with a little bit of, it looks like yellow and white mixed in there as well. It's, yeah, like you said, a very...
This almost looks like an old Pac West kart livery.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying there. It is a very classic look as a whole.
Let's give him that one as the throwback, for a throwback.
I'm absolutely a fan of that. I think he did a great job with this particular livery. Yeah, it stands out, and again, I'm always one for throwback liveries. It's always interesting to see some of the heritage on a lot of those.
So let's give it to Victor Del Porto, the K&P Graphics Paint of the Race in the 27. So at least he's got that going for him tonight.
Yeah, and potentially a top 5 run as well. It's come back to Victor Del Porto. He obviously fell back to about 16th position when he went off strategy a little bit, but that caution really saved him and Jared Rexing. Right now, again, if he can walk away from this race with a top 5, I'd call that a pretty successful night. Top 5s, you want to just be consistent in the series to be there at the end fighting for a championship.
Sounds good. We're on lap 230, 20 laps left to go. Adriano Pinheiro is your leader with an 0.8 of a second lead over Eric Troiano. Caleb Benchy is in third, Jared Rexing fourth, and Victor Del Porto, our K&P Graphics Paint of the Race winner, is in 5th place right now. You're watching action from the virtual Milwaukee Mile tonight on the Elite Racing League's Elite Racing Channel. I'm Mark Gillespie along with Rishov Khosla. Rish, I know we need to sneak in a sponsor break here. Should we do that at the next caution, assuming there is one?
I'm curious. There might not even be one. So we do have a little bit of a lull in the action here on the racetrack.
Let's go ahead and get it in real quickly, then and get it out of the way and keep our sponsors happy, and we can bring you the rest of the race interruption-free.
Absolutely. We'll be back with you guys in just a short minute then.
My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
Richmar Florist makes every day a special day, from weddings and large events to that little something for any occasion. Richmar Florist has the perfect floral expression, and they're open online 24/7 at richmarflorist.com. Everywhere, every day. Richmar's 2 retail locations offer a fantastic selection of floral creations, gifts, and home decor. Book your free consultation in our showroom for your special event needs, and visit us online at richmarflorist.com today.
Come back to the virtual Milwaukee Mile and the signingdaysports.com 250. I'm Mark Gillespie along with Rishav Kozla. We're bringing you the final laps of the signingdaysports.com 250. Adriano Pinheiro in the 12 car is your leader, followed by Eric Troiano about 1.6 seconds back. Caleb Benchy, Jared Rexing, and Victor Del Porto round out the top 5 as we're on lap 237 out of 250. As the leaders work their way through lapped traffic tonight, we have, at last count, 9 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, 9 cars on the lead lap here. We've got 22 cars still running on the racetrack right now. So, I mean, with recent history in mind, not a bad day at all. But yeah, certainly very spread out on this particular run. Not too many really close battles going on track. A lot of guys just kind of running out front, doing their own thing, and you know, Eric Troiano, we did talk about him potentially being able to challenge Pinheiro. I think we've reached that point. Ooh, as we have a car up in the wall there, he's going to keep it pointed in the right direction.
That looked like, oh geez,
that's the 67, I believe, of Fabio Viana. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I was thinking that was Viana. It got real close up there, really loose.
Yeah, so he's pointed in the right direction. There's no, I don't know if he got damage there. So that was very close potentially to getting a caution here to end this race. But lap 240 here of lap 250. So coming up to 10 to go. The gap expanding though for Adriano Pinheiro, and this is what we expected to see. If Troiano couldn't get to the 12 car, he'd just start pulling away as this run went on.
Let's watch as Pinheiro takes a lap. We're down inside of 10 laps to go now. Pinheiro with a big lead over Troiano, Benchy, Rexing, and Del Porto. And you can almost coast it home from here unless we had a quick caution in the last couple of laps. Troiano is just gunning it right now, just hoping for a caution, just trying to get through lapped traffic here.
Yeah, I think for Troiano anyways, he's probably reached that point where he's relying on a caution, obviously. I think he's also clear of Caleb Benchy. I think if he walks away from this race with a second place, I think he'll, as a whole, be pretty happy, I think, with the result. I don't think anybody at all had anything for Adriano Pinheiro. Just pace-wise, this 12 car has been untouchable on the short run, and then you continue to run, and he gets stronger somehow. So it's been an extraordinary run from Adriano Pinheiro, and it's been great to watch just how dominant he's been at this racetrack. It takes something truly extraordinary, and really it would be Adriano Pinheiro losing this race more so than anybody else winning it from him.
And this would be his second race on an oval this season after winning the season opener at Homestead.
Yeah, I mean, two wins this season. Again, didn't have a great race, unfortunately, at, I think it was, let me take a look at some
Long
of his
Beach was where he had issues.
Yeah, Long Beach was a rough race for him, finished back in 15th, and then even at Michigan, got caught up in one of the wrecks, finished in P18, so hasn't quite been there. So this will be interesting. The only 2 times Pinheiro finishes inside the top 10 are for victories. Again, this 12 car so good. He just needs to stay out of some of that trouble. Again, not necessarily his trouble, someone else's trouble, but if he does things like this where he leads from green to checker, excuse me, it's kind of hard to get caught up in somebody else's mess.
And Troiano's down 2.3 seconds behind Pinheiro. 5 laps to go. Pinheiro putting on a clinic tonight here at Milwaukee.
Yeah, he really is. Just nobody can touch him in that gap. How much it's grown in just the past couple laps. I mean, Troiano did such a great job keeping it within a second or even less than a second at times. And then we just kind of hit a point, and Adriano Pinheiro just went into overdrive. He just completely ditched that 14 car. It's now 2.8 seconds. We saw him do the same thing with Chad Frankenfield. We've seen him do the same thing with anybody who's in second place when there's a long run. Pinheiro, this to me feels like a very much championship caliber drive right here from Adriano Pinheiro, because he's strong everywhere. And I'm looking at this 12 car as a very serious threat for this championship. Again, hasn't had the luck necessarily go his way, but this will obviously help boost him in the right position. And with championship leader Henry Bennett having a rougher night down in 7th, this could boost Pinheiro back up the order.
As Pinheiro comes down to take the white flag, we start the Whiskey Cast last call, final lap of the race. If you're into whiskeys, join us each week at whiskeycast.com for our weekly podcasts and our Friday night happy hour webcasts. Adriano Pinheiro takes it around the turn 3 into turn 4. He'll bring it home. Call it, Rish.
Adriano Pinheiro, for the second time this season, is victorious, but this time at a short track, the Milwaukee Mile. Pinheiro gets it done. What a great drive, a dominant drive by this number 12 car. Eric Troiano will bring it home in second, and Caleb Benchy in third, rounding out that podium. A shout-out to Jared Rexing and Victor Del Porto, who made a different strategy call, made it work out for both of them. Top 5 results there. Marquez, Bennett, DeGroot, Wilhite, and Owens rounding out that top 10.
And Pinheiro winds up with a 3-second win over Eric Troiano. His biggest lead of the night came on that last lap at the end of the race. Congratulations to Adriano Pinheiro, our winner tonight in the Signing Day Sports 250 at the virtual Milwaukee Mile. As Pinheiro lights up the tires.
Yeah, another great celebration there for Pinheiro. Win number 2 of the season. Again, we expect him to see him competitive at more races, at just about, honestly, every racetrack we head to. I mean, heck, you even go back to, I believe it was Long Beach. He had a solid car there, qualified in the 5th position, was running well up until caught up in another incident. So look out for this number 12 car, a very serious threat, not only for race wins on any given week, but the championship as well, as we start looking towards that picture pretty soon here. Congratulations, Adriano Pinheiro. Unfortunately, neither Adriano nor Eric Troiano will be able to join us up here in the booth tonight. We will, though, be joined by our third-place driver, Caleb Benchy.
Caleb, good run tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
What was the key to trying to challenge Pinheiro? I don't think anybody had anything for him tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. I could say, especially towards the beginning, I just didn't really feel comfortable. But obviously, long races, good and bad, but definitely give me time to find a groove and everything. But towards the end there, I appreciate you saying I was running some of the fast laps. So would have liked to have another reset or a shot, because I really felt like I was figuring out the track there towards the end. But yeah, he just seemed like he was in his own little league, though. Super fast, consistent, stayed out of trouble, and that's how you win here, and obviously get a podium too. So
with the flat curves, it's almost like we made the analogy earlier during the race. With no banking in these corners, it's almost like running a road course with 4 left turns. And I think that may have been Pinheiro's strength tonight. How was it out there?
yeah, it does kind of resemble that. I mean, you got a lot of downforce, got higher downforce kits on. So yeah, I mean, kind of a late apex, you can multiple lines. It is kind of like a road course track, I guess, in an odd way. But yeah, I do see that comparison a little bit. But it's a unique challenge. I've never done a race here before, so it is bit of an odd track to get used to and stuff. But once you do it, it definitely is fun.
Well, you've had a win so far this season and a top three. That's putting you in good position right now. As almost as good as Pinheiro, who's the only driver with 2 wins right now for the championship. Where do you see your strong points the rest of the season?
Well, first of all, I'm a little disappointed, honestly, because first race I was leading when I had a technology issue, and then got wrecked last week. So for, for races that have been
Does
clean,
happen.
yeah,
Hey,
for races
it's
that have been
racing. What did you expect? It's
exactly.
racing.
As much as I was mad about the technology thing, I compare that to a mechanical failure, I guess. But um, yeah, just I mean, trying to be consistent, try to stay out of the trouble and stuff, and just not outrun your own abilities. Just be consistent, try to get good finishes, and in the 2 races where I haven't had issues, it's paid off. So hope to continue that. I'm local or right by Mid Ohio, so home track, love that track. So I'm very
So
excited to
give
go
us a
there.
preview of Mid Ohio 2 weeks from tonight.
I think I'm excited. I think that those always put on good races there. I know Long Beach was a bit of a survival wreck fest type thing, but I think Mid Ohio will be a little more clean. It's definitely just a fun track to drive, but it's a couple good passing zones. Always puts on some good racing. So obviously I'm excited for it. I'm maybe a little biased, but yeah, I think it'll be a good one for everyone though.
Rish?
Yeah, I had a couple questions for you, Caleb, before we let you go here. One, you talked about adjusting to the track and getting used to it as the run went on. In these IndyCars, you do have a couple of tools available to you. You've got obviously engine modes, which mostly are for fuel saving and that kind of stuff. But really, the weight jacker and the ARBs, the front and rear ARB. How much are you really working those tools throughout the race? How much are you adjusting the car? Or do you kind of find something that works and stick with it for the course of the race?
You definitely want to adjust it, especially if you're not completely content. But you got to be careful and not make too big of swings. Like there was a couple times early in the race where I wasn't feeling comfortable, where I really wanted to make a big ARB adjustment or something, but I just didn't have the guts to do it because I was afraid I'd lose the car or something. But I was more of sticking to the ARBs and fine tuning it a little bit, and eventually, like I said, found something towards the end that helped in general, and then also just found a better line, I think. But you definitely want to be using it, but you don't want to use it too much.
That's great insight as well for our viewers who are into this car. So really appreciate that. And before we let you go here, man, I want to give you a chance to make any shout outs here on the air.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so first of all, thank Race First. Obviously, you can see it on the car, the broadcasting company. Great. They always help me out and got me a lot of shots in many different leagues. So check them out. And also Fawn and Fanny. It's actually a local company in Northeast Ohio. You can check them out online as well. It's custom body care, tons of different daily products and stuff. You can check them out if you get the chance. But yeah, and then family and friends, whoever's watching. I know some grandparents and friends and stuff tune in sometimes. So yeah, thanks to everyone, and glad we can get a good finish.
Well, congratulations on a third place finish tonight, Caleb, and we'll see you in 2 weeks at your home track at Mid Ohio.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Caleb Benchy joining us right now, our third place finisher tonight. That does it for the virtual Milwaukee Mile and the Signing Day Sports Milwaukee 250. Once again, join us 2 weeks from tonight at virtual Mid Ohio as the Elite Racing League heads off to northern Ohio or north central Ohio, just north of Columbus in the real world. Of course, it'll be on your virtual world here on the Elite Racing Channel YouTube channel. Rish, any final thoughts?
I mean, just impressive. I'm impressed with a lot of these guys being able to keep the racing relatively clean on a track where we've seen, in the Cup Series, things don't get very clean. Things can get very messy very easily. So a really big shout out to all the drivers for doing that. And I mean, obviously a massive shout out to Adriano Pinheiro. Of course, unfortunately, we couldn't talk to him up here in the booth, but yeah, man, that guy impresses me every week here, and I'm going to keep looking at him in the future as somebody to dominate a lot of these races upcoming. Look out for him when we get to these long races, especially look out for him when it comes down to the championship at WWT Raceway.
And for those of you who are questioning, we need to point out Adriano is from Brazil. Portuguese is his first language, and I'll put it this way, our Portuguese is probably a lot worse than Adriano's English. So there is a language barrier there, and we have complete respect for him and congratulate him on the win tonight. Wish we could get him in the booth, but that's just one of those things that just isn't going to quite work out with an international audience. And we have to show the respect that Adriano deserves. But we just want to acknowledge that that's why he's not in the booth with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, once again, massive respect to Adriano Pinheiro, and it's I think it's a great thing that we have so much diversity in terms of the drivers
Yeah.
from different countries around the world able to come in here, and I mean, all of them are sharing that same passion for racing. So, I mean,
Yeah, 'cause
I couldn't be happier.
we have guys from Brazil, England, Germany, as well as the United States. I think we have at least one Canadian in the race, or one or two Canadians, and folks were literally from all over the world racing in elite racing, and that just makes it so much more fun. So we'll call it a night right now. Don't forget to join us once again 2 weeks from tonight at Virtual Mid-Ohio. For Rishav Kozla, I'm Mark Gillespie, and for all the drivers in the Elite Racing League, thanks for watching tonight, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.